Just like in the movies.
Welcome to Super Wonder Legacy. I'm Jared. All right, so crazy story, but I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
So,
What's up, Britt?
so here's the thing. So we did the episode talking about Justice League action, and all of it. So I figured, screw it, I'll tag some people that were involved in the show. And all of a sudden, Superman himself offers to come on the show. So welcome to the show, Jason Lewis.
Well,
What's up, man?
you know what? It's been really fun to watch the fan base pick up in the years since it aired, and people kind of discovering it still. And, and people like yourself who are fans and just like have really just show the love. And so whenever that happens, I acknowledge it whenever I can, because I think it was a special show, and I'm very proud of it, and really honored to have been a part of it. So
it's one of those shows where I'm really surprised that it's not talked about as it should be, because it's one of those shows that's first off, it's extremely rare to see other depictions of Superman with Wonder Woman as opposed to Lois. That's obviously what got Britt and I interested in it. And we're like, wait, what? What?
Yeah,
it never happens.
Yeah, it was really cool that they chose to kind of go that route too. And I didn't know. Both Rachel and I don't. Well, Rachel kind of knew better than I did, I think, but I don't think I was aware of how much fan base there is for just Super Wonder.
Yeah.
And how much of an impact that made from the show on different people who really value that. And so it was really kind of cool. Rachel, I wish she could be on with us, because I mean she's such a doll. She's amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better Wonder Woman to voice with me. She was fantastic. And
it's kind of the same thing with me, because so we started this particular show like a year ago, and it's always kind of on YouTube. It's always kind of like a concern if you go super niche with something. Is it you're gonna limit your audience? The first episode launches, and I'm like, because like you, I had no idea there was such a big need for this, and I go, okay, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
that's the interesting part about it,
dude. It's really cool. And plus, the fun that they had with it too, the writers and the producers, they decided to go that route. And then I remember Jim Krieg, the writer and producer, he kind of came to me even before we recorded Repulse. He's like, we have this concept for an episode with Superman and Wonder Woman on a date, and that he can't kiss her, and it's really funny, and and I was like, this sounds great. And when we finally got the script, when they fleshed it all out, and it was this really clever episode with Lex Luthor, I was really this has got some great moments in it, So I was stoked. Yeah.
Heck yeah. So Britt, do you want to start us off asking a few questions?
Okay, so what got you into acting, or the world of wanting to be a voice actor?
I think most voice actors start out wanting to be on-camera actors. So, I still, and it's weird because everyone thinks it's it's such a specific thing. I still consider it acting, whether I'm behind a mic, in front of a camera, on a stage. But it is a very specific niche, and I don't want to take anything away from the people that, really have, kind of pioneered it. And I actually really have fallen in love with it as I've done it. But specifically, I think in about 2004-ish, circa 2004, I was auditioning. Ironically, there was I started putting audition CDs out. You made your demo, and you put that together. And then I remember specifically, I mean, it might even been before 2004. It was maybe 2003. There was a backstage ad for a traveling DC mall show, because they used to go to malls back then and do these kind of kid shows and things like that. But the dialogue was all recorded, so none of the actors on stage were talking; they were just acting out the action. And they had a call for it was a Batman DC live show that they were doing in malls. And so I was like, oh, you know what? And all my friends around me, I was working at Universal Studios, and they were like, dude, you got to get a voiceover demo together. you're just dynamite at these voices. And I'm like, I know. And I was kind of dragging my feet about it because, and maybe it was a bit of a pride thing, but they're like, you're so great at voiceover. You just got to do voiceover. And, the insecure part of me is like, but, does that mean I can't be on camera? Like, shouldn't be. So, I guess I was dragging my feet a little bit because, it's like
we all have that moment.
So I was so young and I didn't think about the fact it's all acting. It's all great. And so I put this little demo together of me doing Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and the Joker, and I just read from a comic book. I can't remember which one. But I still have the demo actually. I should dig it out one of these days. And I was doing, basically like lifting Kevin Conroy's work, and
there you go.
I came up with my own original voice for Gordon, which I was actually very proud of. And then the Joker, which I was just basically like doing my own version of Mark Hamill's work. Because I figured this is a mall show. They're going to want something very familiar and iconic. Yeah. It's like they don't want to like reinvent the wheel. And so the deadline, I remember specifically, was like, I can't remember what day it was, but I had missed the deadline by like a day to get this thing in. And so because I was waiting on the CD to get finished, and I got it all recorded. And I remember the address that you were supposed to send it to was listed on the backstage listing. And so I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to go to this guy's address and put it in his mailbox. And that's
ballsy.
Exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did.
That is wonderful.
And I know. And I was like, and I just put it right in the mailbox. Well, I got a call and they were like, hey man, your Joker is exactly what we want. I was like, cool. So I wound up recording the Joker for this like mall show that went around all over the country. And then that was in 2003. I want to say it was 2003. Because 2004 was when I started doing Donkey at Universal Studios, Hollywood. And so I started, they brought the puppet in, and I had worked on my Eddie Murphy, which I didn't even know I could really do. At that time, I was playing one of the Marx Brothers at Universal. And I was playing Chico. So he had an Italian accent like they say, boss, what's the matter you? That's a good. So I was doing that day in and day out. And they said, we're bringing Donkey in. How's your Eddie Murphy? And I'm like, I don't know, I'll try it, And I worked for about a week and a half on it, and I came up with a Donkey voice, and there it was, it just kind of came out. So I started being Donkey forever at Universal. But that was really kind of like after the confidence of doing this with the Joker. And the funny part is the producer of the show actually worked at Universal.
There you go.
He's Kevin Porter. He's the Batman guy from the internet. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not, but
yeah, I am.
He's done a lot of Batman fan films and things like that. So he was producing the show. So he worked Universal, and we were like, yeah, that's crazy. But all of that kind of gave me the confidence to put myself out there. And then it really was like in August of 2004, I did this gig where DreamWorks had they heard about the puppet we had at Universal, and they said, hey, we want to take this puppet and do a Walmart. This is a long answer, Brittany. I'm sorry, but I'm just giving you.
It's all good. It's all good. We're all here to. We're here to hear you. It's all good.
I realize I'm like, this is a long story. I need to. But anyway, so long story short, I went to this convention that was like a national Walmart convention. DreamWorks was promoting the Shrek 2 DVD there, and they wanted to have something fun because Spider-Man 2 from Sony was right next to us, and they had this big subway thing with Spider-Man, It was really cool. But anyway, so they were promoting the Shrek 2 DVD, and we had Donkey there. Well, it was big enough and important enough that Katzenberg himself showed up, Jeffrey Katzenberg. And for those that don't know, when DreamWorks was SKG, he was the K. So that's a big part of that equation. And then Antonio Banderas was there, and Melanie Griffith. I mean, it was wild. It was wild. They came one morning and they saw us do the thing, and I literally talked to them for maybe 3 minutes, and then they walked on with their entourage. But our manager said, look, man, he's like, they were asking about you. You did such a great job. I think this is going to turn into something. And I was like, I don't know. That's great. I know it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was like beyond buzzed to be performing for Katzenberg and Antonio Banderas and stuff. But I was like, hey, that's great. And so, but sure enough, about a month later, they called the offices at Universal asking for my info, and then um, they, they the office called me and said, "Can we give them your number?" I was like, "Yeah, go ahead, that's fine with me." And they then they called a few minutes later and said, "Hey, we want you to read for this stuff that we got that Eddie Murphy might not be able to do, and we just hear you do a great donkey." So I'm like, okay, and so I go and audition, and it turns out it's going to be the scratch for Shrek 3,
Hmm.
which they were developing at the time. And if you don't know what a scratch track is, it's all of the previs stuff, basically what they call previs now, and it's stuff that they play with the storyboards for the script, just to kind of get an idea of how the dialogue feels, if it needs to be rewritten, that kind of stuff. They usually have the writers do it and things like that, but if they can get voice actors to really match it, it helps because it helps the jokes read and land better.
Yeah.
So it's a very cool gig to get and can often turn into something. In fact, I believe in Shrek 4, the guy who was Rumpelstiltskin, he was the scratch voice, and they just had liked it, had heard it so much throughout the entire production, they kept it. And obviously, I think he was great. He was really cool. So anyway, I knew that wasn't going to happen with me because Eddie Murphy was going to come back, but it turned into a thing. They wound up taking me on, and I got an agent out of it. And then they said, okay, well, we'll take you on, and we'll help you negotiate this gig, and we'll submit you some real stuff. And then in the fall of 2004, I got the agent, and then that was what kind of started the whole thing. I mean, I booked a pilot about 6 months later, and they were just beyond thrilled. It didn't go anywhere, but they were like, "Look, that doesn't matter, man. You book something within the first year, you're on." And so I was really excited. I felt really like this is a whole new avenue that I'm going to go down, and I immediately started booking, different video games and things like that. So that's really where the voiceover part of my career started, was with Donkey. So
where did Superman start, like entering the picture in terms of like auditioning for that?
Well, it wasn't until almost 10 years later, because they've done different, they did different iterations of things, and they've been doing a lot. At that time, they were doing a lot of straight to video content for like the adaptations of the comic books and things like that. But this was going to be an all new series. I got the audition in October of 2014, and my wife, I remember my wife was just finishing up a theater contract and was coming back from that. Our daughter was 1 at the time. So we were, just kind of, I told her about the audition, and I said, look, I feel really good about this. And I read for like 5 different characters, because usually when you get a show like that, they're like, here's all the characters, them, read for whatever, you think you'd be right for. And so but because they want to hear you do multiple voices and know you could do different characters on the show if they need it. And so I read for Batman and Superman and I think Joker again.
There you go.
And so and a couple others, smaller characters and stuff. And so I didn't. And they said so the funny thing is, they said, we're gonna probably record this last week in October, so you'll know by this or then. And I didn't hear anything. The kind of date came and went, and I was like, okay, and a lot of times when you're just auditioning, that's all you can do. You just got to keep moving forward. You can't. Yeah, I rarely, if ever, get feedback on auditions unless I get a call back. And so the week went by, but then that week after, my agent emailed me and said, hey, they'd like to hear you for Superman at this pilot reading. And I'm like, what? And I was like, are you kidding? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, holy cow. And my agent's so funny. He writes these emails every day, and he literally was like, one line, hey, they want to see you for Superman. Is it cool? And I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. Like, there was no like, great job. Yeah, that's right. But they were really supportive and happy, of course. But it was just funny because it was so like, like off the cuff, And so I was just like stunned when I read it, and I went in to record the pilot in November of 2014. And then they said, if this is going to go, we'll know by the beginning of the year. And I didn't hear anything until February, and then they said, okay, we're going. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is insane. Like, I had no clue that was, I mean, it was wild. It was so wild. It was such an exciting thing to happen, and I just really didn't I just did not see that coming.
Really?
At all.
So,
Yeah.
and were you a superhero fan or like of Superman growing up, or is this like so this must be like a
Yeah.
kid in the candy
Oh
store at
yeah.
this
No, I
point.
mean, I think, of course it was the '89 Batman that kind
Yeah.
of turned me on to everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'd already liked Superman before that, and I loved watching the Superman movies when I was a kid, with Christopher Reeve and everything. But Batman '89, that changed everything for my generation. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we were all like, what? And it's such a genre bending, amazing film that you really don't understand the impact that it had on movies, on comics, on everything else at that
Yeah.
time. It was an event. It was
Mm-hmm.
such an event, and I don't know if you're old enough to remember that, but
Mm.
it was an Avengers Endgame level event.
Yeah.
To kind of put it in the context of the,
Mm-hmm.
it was that big, and but because we saw the trailers, we were like, this is going to be incredible. Like, oh my gosh, Jack Nicholson, and it's like, and we went and saw it, and it blew our minds. And so I was an instant Batman fan. Loved the animated series growing up. I mean, like, loved the animated series. Like, I
Yeah,
was
as most of us are.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And and so I think my focus was Batman for a long time. I never didn't like Superman. I think it was just, he kind of took a front seat for a while. And then but then of course in the mid '90s, Death of Superman was a big comic book
Oh
event.
yeah, there you go.
So that kind of reinvigorated everyone. We were like, oh wow. And so I started reading it again, and I was like really taken aback by just how much I missed reading Superman.
Isn't it kind of ironic though that like the story that reinvigorated everyone's interest in him is when he died?
I know.
There's a great line in the comics where Batman goes, "The last time you inspired someone is when you were dead."
That sounds like
Batman. Such a Batman line.
So cold.
Yeah, so that's that bat like coldness. Yes, exactly.
That's really, really funny. Oh my
yeah, exactly. Well, there's another Superman moment. I don't know if you know about this one, and Britt knows what I'm about to reference. So in the comics, they had Superman and Wonder Woman dating around the same time that you were doing the show. So there's this great moment. Wonder Woman brings Superman to meet her family. Remember, her family are the Greek gods at this point. Yes. So Apollo mouths off about Diana, and Superman punches him. Then Apollo blasts Superman with sunlight. And Apollo goes, "How are you not dead?" Then Superman goes, "You don't know that much about me, do you?" Takes him by the collar and throws him through a mountain. And then he turns to Wonder Woman and goes, "Before you say anything, I know you could have handled that." And then Wonder Woman goes, "Yeah, true, but I enjoyed watching it." That's my favorite Superman moment of all time.
Oh my gosh!
Besides in the movies, when like, have you seen the Snyder cut of Justice League?
Oh, sorry. I'm just reading. I didn't know we were live. We got all these like.
Oh yeah, we do. And
this is
by
cool.
the way,
this is so fun. I love this.
Yeah. So did you see the Snyder cut of Justice League?
You know what? I haven't finished it.
Bro,
I watched like the first hour of it, and I just haven't gotten back to it because I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted, but with kids, it's impossible these days.
Well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But there's a scene in there. Really cool. There's a scene in there that is, I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's one of like the best Superman moments anytime. But it's like, by the way, so there's a sort of legend about the show with me is that I hate Lois. So if you see is Lois, yeah, that's what that is.
That's really funny.
That's what that is. That's what that is.
Lord said. Oh,
it's
really
my
funny.
thing. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. But
the death of Lois Lane comic.
Yeah. Now that's a comic right there. But
you know what? Actually, I think that could be a really compelling story.
That could. I know, right?
Yeah.
But
because that would be a nice juxtaposition to the death of Superman if they did
exactly. Exactly. Or if I wrote that, I would be so petty. But anyway, so Britt, do you have a question to ask?
That's really fun. And then someone else was asking about Aquaman. I thought
because in the direct to movie to TV movies, they did like adapting a lot of the comics at the time, and one of them was like, so they adapted the formation of the Justice League from like the new 52 era, and Aquaman was in the comic but not in the movie. And it's like, I mean, I don't know if you wouldn't know anything about that. I mean, it wasn't about it wasn't in action. So
Well, they
that's why
were
I didn't
asking
ask.
specifically why he wasn't in Justice League Action, and I
Oh,
will
okay,
say,
action, yeah.
I do know Shane Glines, the designer, had designs for him. And I think there was a plan to do some episodes in season 2 if it ever happened, and it never materialized, sadly. So
okay.
There were a lot of other plans we had for season 2.
I'm sure.
I mean, it was going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer that it just never took off. But I know Aquaman was definitely in there.
Yeah.
Because there were designs, and they just never got around to doing
Okay.
it. So.
Okay, that's cool. So, Britt, do you have another question to ask?
Okay, so how do you balance honoring the legacy of Superman and bringing in your own interpretation of the character?
Because that's got to be like the biggest pressure, because you're dealing with the character that's like started the whole superhero genre.
Well, I think, yeah, this is a big question this year, isn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the moment that I found out that this was actually happening was the moment that I think I began to ask those questions, because I didn't want to, give myself too much hope, because in this business, you never know. And I will say that the cast, and part of it was that the cast in the pilot was very, very different from the cast that was in the final run. And I won't go into who it was and so forth, but just suffice to say, I didn't know Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill were going to be in the show until I got there to record that first day, and I about like lost my mind.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I'm like,
because well, it happened so fast because I got to the studio a little early, and I'll get to. I mean, this is all kind of part of your question.
Yeah, it's all good.
And so I got to the studio a little early, and I remember, Wes Gleason, the director, who's directed a ton of great DC content. He's and he's like, "Hey man, Superman's here, guys," and I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." And they and so they were, "Hey, we're waiting to get we're gonna record our Lex Luthor from via remote," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Yeah, it's James Woods," and I was like, oh, "What?" And I was like, "James Woods? Are you kidding me? Like, could not be more perfect." And I was like, "That's amazing. He's my Lex." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "That's really fun." So I got to sit in and hear that whole thing, and then that was wild. And then he's like, "Okay, we're waiting on our Batman Kevin," and I was like, "Wait, Kevin Conroy?" He's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "What? That's what? Wait, that's not who we like, yeah." And he was like, "Yeah, I know. We decided to go back." So when that happened, I immediately was like, "I'm going to be fired any day," because they brought everyone back except me and Wonder Woman, and both Rachel and I were like, "How is this happening?" Like, like, this is crazy. And thankfully that never happened. But Wes always joked. He's like, "Buddy," he's like, "You gotta stop asking that." He's like, "You're our Superman," and I was like, "Thanks, man." He's like, "I know." He's like, "I got you." And it was really sweet. He was very encouraging, the whole time I was there. But it was it was great. But I think that question came up for me a lot, Brittany, as I was recording, because when I was kind of shaping the voice, even in the audition from the very beginning, my whole thing was like, what can I possibly offer new to this guy that someone else hasn't done?
Yeah.
And I think that's the big question every actor gets when they get these kind of characters, is like, what can I contribute to this? And the reality is that, I can't think too much about that, because I just have to kind of be whatever it is I'm going to be, and whatever choices I make to create that character, I need to kind of just lean into that and stick to that, because what I offer is not going to be what someone else's offers, and I have to trust that, and I have to be okay with it not working too. I think that's the hardest part of all of it. But in this case, I remember sitting there, and I think I did like 4 or 5 reads, and I had Reeves' voice in the back of my head most of course. And it wasn't even so much his voice as much as like his Cary Grant kind of persona as Clark, and the kind of really articulate way he would say things, and I would kind of like, and so then I started to kind of like get this little like bubble in the back of my throat, and I started to kind of like sound a little more official, but not over the top, because I don't want to make it sound like, "Hi, I'm Superman." Like, that sounds lame, right? And no one wants to hear that. That's not who he is. He's too authentic. And so I was like, so I got to sound authentic, and I have to sound articulate, and I have to sound very I don't know, forthright, I guess, and maybe honest is the right word I'm trying to say. And so, but Reeve captured all that.
Yeah.
And I always think, and I think for me, it was the moment when he's like, I never lie, you know, and that was the moment that really made me go, okay, this is the kind of in for me here as an actor that I started to kind of really lean into. And then, of course, you know, Newburn and oh gosh, what my mind, why can't I think? Animated series Superman.
Tim Daly.
Thank you, Tim Daly. Oh my gosh, my brain. Yeah, okay. And I mean, of course, all their work was also kind of in the ether in my head. But in no way was I trying to voice match.
Yeah.
I was just trying to find my own, and I was very, very happy with what I came up with. But ironically, it was, of all the auditions I sent in, it was the one I least thought was going to do anything, because I was like, well, you know, it's like, I don't know if it's really going to be that striking. But man, I tell you, Wes was so complimentary when he kind of pulled me aside after our first episode. I was like, hey man, he's like, I just want to tell you, like, if you have any shred of, you know, insecurity, like, just know we also considered you for Batman too. So, like, you know, you were in heavy consideration. But we went back to your Superman tape and we're like, no, this is our Superman guy. And he's like, so just know that, like, you're really great. And that was really meaningful to me, because you don't always get that kind of feedback from producers or anybody else. But it meant a lot to me, because it made me go, okay, I can believe in my work and what I do. And that was cool. That was very reaffirming from that standpoint. But then also, like, I was very proud of the way he kind of sounded overall, because it did. I felt like it honored the legacy of him. And I started reading this really good book about, it's the unofficial autobiography of Superman. And I don't know who wrote it. I can't remember, but it was I just found it on my Kindle. And I started reading it, and I didn't get all the way through it, but I read a lot of it. And one of the things that stuck out to me when I was reading it, and it really helped inform a lot of my work, and, you know, kind of like, to answer your question directly, Britt, like, really helped me honor the legacy of it, was, you know, there's a lot of heroes that are relatable. There's Spider-Man, there's Batman, they're relatable, and Superman is relatable to a point. Yeah,
to a degree.
And it needs to be, but that's not his arc. Like Batman's arc or Spider-Man's arc. His arc is he's the character you believe in, you don't relate to necessarily. And I was like, aha, that's how you balance.
He's an ideal.
He's an ideal, and I think he holds himself up to that, which is why I think the movie this year was so powerful too, because it really it kind of rocked a little bit of that notion for him. What he understood about himself, you know, but yet solidified it even more. And I thought it was really beautiful the way they handle it in the movie too. So,
now, all right, I gotta ask.
That's a long answer, but yes,
you're a Superman voice actor. I gotta ask: trunks or no trunks? I gotta ask.
My version has no trunks, so I have to say no trunks. But
thank you. Which I 100% agree, because it's like, at a certain point, it kind of looks like a diaper, depending on, like, how they do the suit. So I'm like, trunks on the inside, please. Thank you. But it's like, it's interesting you said about Superman being the ideal. And I think that's partly why the Trinity particularly have, like, become, like, the ideal of, like, who a hero is, because each of them really are the ideal of, like, a portion of being a hero. Wonder Woman being truth, Superman being hope, Batman being justice in that sense.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. Wow, that's really very profound. Nicely done.
DC, hire me.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's actually a really neat thing. And I like, you know, I like I like that. That's really cool. The idea of the Trinity having these different components to it, and that's very cool, man. That's really groovy. I dig that. Well done.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm sorry. I keep getting distracted by all the people streaming here, and I'm like,
it's all good. Yeah, a lot of them are like, because we're saying, because here's the thing. It's like going back to like the portrayal of Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship in the show. It's like, because it's like it's like I said before, it's extremely rare. But Britt, I can tell you that we get that in a cartoon. It's to the point where when when I first started watching the show on reruns, I was like, okay, so where's the hitch? Are they going to do it where they go on a date and decide it's not like for them, and then they break up? Because they did that in the comics, and I was pissed. But then it keeps going, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh wait, what? This is what they're doing, and I go,
Yeah.
oh okay. Now I'm more interested because I'm like,
Yeah.
the rug is not pulled.
Yeah. And it was really fun. I gotta tell you, Rachel could not have been a better person
She was
to
great.
have that chemistry with,
Yeah.
and to like really. I mean, she was just nailed it every time, and it made it easy for me, you know, to like, you know, to create that chemistry with her, and she was just amazing, and we really had a lot of fun with some of those episodes too. It was great.
So now I gotta ask you this. This is a loaded question, but Wonder Woman or Lois? I have to ask. The audience will ask.
You know, that's an interesting.
Because obviously for me it's Wonder Woman, but it's also because she kind of understands, at least to a degree that Lois won't, what he goes through as a superhero, the isolation and such.
Well,
is what I think.
As I tell you, that's an interesting question. I think it's hard because I think Superman himself wouldn't be able to choose.
Well, yeah, that's a good
necessarily,
point.
And that's why we have these kind of different, angles on him. I think he loves them both for different reasons. I think in Lois, and is someone who is, processed rejection trauma, is adopted, also like understands like how some of these connections. I can see why he's drawn to Lois 100%. In terms of the psychosis of it all. She's a strong woman, but strong in the ways that he's not. He's strong in all the kind of meta ways, and she's strong in these kind of like really in her personality ways, where it's like she brings this unbelievable strength, this Wonder Woman strength to her reporting, really, into her mind. And I think he really values that, and he cherishes that, and as Clark, and as Superman. And that's the attraction to Lois. I mean, she's sassy, she's fun, and he's a little bit of a square, but maybe he doesn't always want to be, or something. So I think he sees a little bit of that, chasing after Lois in that sense. And what's cool about the relationship with Lois is she, as we've seen in the comics and the movies and things like that, they've written it in a way where she really tries to understand him, where she could be a very kind of like sassy, independent, woman. And there's a strong, really good, I think, positive, empowering women message in her character. She also realizes how much she loves him, doesn't need him to rescue her all the time, but loves him for who he is. And I think that's really cool. Juxtaposably, I think with Wonder Woman, he sees someone who is a little bit more like, whereas Lois puts him in his like a little bit of his uncomfortable zone, but that's like he's challenging. I think he wants that. Wonder Woman is a little bit more of a comfort zone for him. He feels like, okay, this is more someone who is like on my level, understands me in a way that no one else ever could. And in that sense, they match each other really, really well. So I think he feels very comfortable with Wonder Woman, and feels like, and it feels in a way it feels like he doesn't have to be Superman with her.
Yeah,
which I think
the way I always kind of saw it is like when Superman and Wonder Woman are together, these secret identities like go away, and like they're just like Clark and Diana. Yes, they have incredible powers, but that's not really like the thing that brings them together, if that makes sense.
And I think that's the key, is it's like, that's not, and that's the way they wrote it in the show too. It's not purely their powers that bring them together. It's like there's I think they're both outcasts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in that they find common ground.
Yeah.
And I think that's really healthy for Clark and for Superman and Kal-El and all his personalities.
Yeah. They did that in the comics, actually. When they brought them together, they had this whole like scene where they're on top of, like, I think it was the Lincoln Memorial, Brit. And yeah. So they basically have this conversation where Wonder Woman is like, people like us really are alone, huh? And Superman goes, yeah, because it's like, he goes, I have to keep half of myself a secret from people all the time. How close I am to someone is debatable. So, and then they really go, do you ever feel alone? And then he goes, yeah, of course I do. And then they kiss.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also that misconception of them being gods, you know, and they say how they need to be grounded, but those two are very grounded in being, you know, these two outsiders. You know, when you break it down, Clark is a refugee, Diana is an immigrant. So you have that perspective that they don't necessarily belong in one world, but they have this, you know, weight or this responsibility put on their shoulders, and they are the only ones that can understand that.
Right. That's good. That's good, Britt.
We see a lot of, you know, other fans that say, oh, if they're together, then they're going to lose that humanity. But with reading, you know, Superman and Wonder Woman, you see that with them together, they put the world first, and that was something that was in the comics too. And if they didn't put the world first, didn't put their responsibilities in, it's like, why are we together? It was all about them basically showing and celebrating diversity and celebrating culture, which a lot of times with Superman is not really with Lois. He has to choose one over the other, and it's mostly Clark. And we get to the point where he neglects his Kryptonian side, or his
that's true. He has to give up a part of himself.
And the other thing is, so here's the thing: when people say that like Superman has to be grounded, because I assume you're familiar with the Injustice games, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So people apparently think that if Superman does not have Lois or dates Diana, he turns into that evil Superman. But I'm like, wait a minute here. It's like, because if you're saying that like Superman needs Lois in order to be grounded fully, and or otherwise he abandons his humanity, you're forgetting the fact that he was raised human for most of his life. As far as he's concerned, until Mom and Pa Kent told him he was an alien, he was a human. So it's like, I'm like, he was raised human.
Right. And I think that's interesting that's really interesting that there are people that would perceive that. I think I would hope that none of us would ever need someone that badly.
Yeah,
like that our inherent good is there. You know.
My point is, if Superman is that close to turning into a dictator, he has other problems.
Yeah, I think that there's and because none of that really tracks with the rest of his character.
Exactly. Thank you on that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Well, also in the Injustice games, as Dave says, they made Wonder Woman the villain of Injustice.
They kind of did, yeah.
I'm like, what? It's like, particularly, here's the thing: it wasn't even in Injustice 1. It's when you get to Injustice 2 where it's like, oh, you corrupted him, and I go, what the hell is here? It's like they just threw it in there, and I'm like, why?
I think they lay the ground for all kinds of drama that way, all kinds of mischief. You know? I'm not as familiar with Injustice, but I do know.
It's really odd because again, it's like, look, if anyone prefers Lois over Diana for Superman, hey, that's totally fine. I get it. I understand. Plus, there is also, for the most part, he's always been with Lois throughout his like history. I get that, but it's like, don't crap on another character in order to like promote.
I also think it's pretty interesting that the writers of Injustice would make her such a villain.
I know, right?
Like, especially in this day and age, I'm like, really?
Yeah, I'm like,
because I'm like, that seems wrong.
Yeah, it's like a Wonder Woman is the temptress that leads man toward evil. Are you seeing what I'm saying?
And that feels really outdated.
Yeah, I know. And I'm like, it doesn't real. It's to the point where I'm of the opinion that Injustice should never have because here's the thing. What Injustice did, at least from what I saw, is it turned people to the opinion that Superman has to be with Lois or he turns into an evil dictator, and Wonder Woman is always this somewhat evil seductress that will turn Superman evil. And that's my reaction. That's my reaction. I'm like, what? Trust me.
I guess that is kind of that's the subtext. Yeah, you're right.
Trust me, Jason. Britt and I have seen some weird stuff on Twitter. Trust me. Oh my God.
It sounds like you've done a lot of this journey.
Oh, trust me. I feel like we just went through a war. Trust me.
Wow.
Like with that. But it's like, yeah, but it's like the other thing that they really did, honestly, talk about Superman's isolation is that so they recently did the Absolute line of comics, which is essentially a side universe where it's like the more hardcore version of the character. So in that they reinvented his origin where Superman came to Earth as a kid. So he essentially they Supergirled him and gave him the memories of Krypton, and he's a little bit more of the he's a little bit more hardcore in that he's not like he's not evil or anything like that, but he's a little bit more like
he's just isolated.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just a little bit more isolated.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that isolation probably makes him a little more bitter, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Okay. Because the idea of the Absolute Universe that with Wonder Woman, she's raised in hell, and she's like the last Amazon. She still is Diana, and so it's like she's fine. But it's like here's the thing about the Absolute Universe. It's like you take away the
I don't know
Kents
anything about the Absolute Universe
and the Fortress. It's really good.
Yeah, is this a new comic series?
Yeah, they started. So here's Absolute Superman, and
let me show you. It's right here.
And the cape is actually kind of like a nanotech, a dust cape. And here's Wonder Woman.
Okay.
But
so they retconned a little bit just to play with some ideas and tell some different stories. Is that?
Well, it's not even a retcon. The main universe still exists. It's just there's a side universe where they can do all this really weird stuff.
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. And that's the cool part because they really,
I did not use the proper terminology.
Yeah, exactly. You're on a comic book channel, Jason. No, you play Superman. You should know this. But it's the idea of it's showing that you could take away they are more than their support systems. That's why I like them, because it's like Superman is not with Lois in that continuity. She exists. She's actually an agent trying to track him down. But it's like you can take all of this away. They are at their heart still these characters. Like Batman is not a rich guy, but he's still Batman.
Right. Oh, interesting. Cool, so he's not from a wealthy family in the Absolute Universe?
No, in the Absolute Universe, so he still had the tragedy, except his dad died instead of his dad and his mom. So his mom still raises him. Oh, he's more of a construction worker. Yeah. And all of his rogues are his childhood friends.
Oh my gosh, it's really
so good. Like Nigma, Killer Croc, they're all his friends. And when they find out he's Batman,
now I really want to read this. This sounds so good. Interesting. Yeah.
When they find out he's Batman, they go, "Are you serious? You didn't tell us the bat." Hang on, I have that as well. The bat.
That's cool.
On there.
Oh yeah,
it's actually an axe.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's real. And Alfred is a mercenary that then gets recruited into Batman's team, if you will.
That's interesting. You know what the Pennyworth show is interesting. I thought
I never watched that. I heard it was
well. I kind of like the idea of giving Alfred a little bit more of a backstory. Well, there's something that's kind of an interesting concept because it is true. I mean, he kind of it just seems to jump in there and do but how does he know all this stuff? And so it's an interesting take. I like that. Yeah.
Did you ever see the show Krypton?
I did not get into that one. No,
bro, it's so good. They actually have a really good version of Brainiac.
It did look interesting.
It's basically telling the story of Clark's grandfather on Krypton, and it kind of leads up to Krypton's blowing up. It's really good. It was I think the way it works is that it started off in concept as a prequel to Man of Steel.
That's right, because it came out around that time.
Around that time, yeah.
Yes.
Which obviously I love because I'm a big fan of like these Zack Snyder DC movies. They're a little bit more my speed. In fact, here's the thing. So you talk about the Snyder Cut being long. I've watched it 19 times. I've counted. Well, I work from home, so I have the time. I have the time, so it's like I work from home.
Wait, do you have kids yet? Because
no, I don't. Obviously, I don't.
If I was a single man, I'd probably be doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I get it. Well, and the Snyderverse is fascinating to me because there are things I truly love about it and things I do not like at all.
Okay.
And I'm very divided on it. Man of Steel was very divisive for me because I loved some of the takes on it, and then I was also like really conflicted with some of the takes on Superman. I did not like how they handled Jonathan's death. I thought that was really frustrating.
With me, I'm like,
that's probably the biggest Achilles heel for me of that entire story. With everything else, I was okay with, but that bothered me because it was always his ability to not be able to control someone dying that was like the thing that really like escaped him, and it was like that. That totally changed the context of him understanding death. And I did not think that was very wise. Well, in terms of,
a counterpoint points out. How about this? So when at that point in Superman's life, he doesn't know all of his powers, so he doesn't know he has like super speed that he could save.
True, he was still kind of discovering that.
And it's like everyone's looking in that direction, so it's not like he could save him without. Now, I do agree it could have been done a lot better, but. It's like that's kind of what I think they were going for.
He stood there for a long time and let the tornado get him.
Well, yeah, and I think the idea
that's
was
what bothered me about the whole thing. I was like, "Come on!"
Here's the thing: the Snyderverse is taking place in our world. Do you really think in our world, if someone super speeded over and saved someone from a tornado, we wouldn't hear about it?
Well, fair enough. It's
all good.
I just think it was interesting that he was so fearful of what would happen to him, if his powers revealed. To a certain degree, I understand that, but with some of the other iterations, it was like, well, we can keep this a secret for so long, but at some point, it's not going to be, and we need to also prepare him for that end of things. And that was kind of like the humanity part of it that. Other iterations were good about, and even Costner had some great moments in it.
Yeah,
and that's kind of why I was frustrated. I was like, man, he's a great Jonathan Kent. Why are we doing this? I was like,
oh, trust me, the frustration that you had for John Kent is the same frustration that Britt and I had in the recent Superman movie when they made the Kryptonians evil.
Yeah, on this last podcast I was on, with Andy on Batcast, we were talking about that a little bit. And because I was it was weird for me to see that take. And but Gunn committed to it. So because we were like, is that real? It's like, no, they made it pretty obvious that that's real. And and what's interesting about it for me is that being adopted, and I shared this on the last podcast too, but what was interesting for me is I had a very interesting journey. I went and found my bio family, and I had a lot of visions of what that was going to be like too, in my mind, and that she gave me a kind of like to give me a better life and this and that, and and she did. I mean, in finding my mom, and but that relationship went south with her, and there's a lot of anger and bitterness and sadness on her end, and it was something that that shook me a little bit, and obviously I had to really work through a lot of things. But after meeting her and seeing that and understanding that, it was like this movie, it was good for me. It was almost a healing thing for me in a way, because it made me really understand that the love my parents did give me was what mattered. And that's what shaped me into who I am, and not so much whatever notions I had of how noble I thought she was, or whoever I envisioned them to be, my natural parents. And it was like, your choices define who you are. that's how you shape that, and that's how we shaped who we are. And that's something that I think is very important in the life of Superman. And Gunn did it in a way that definitely shook the fan base a little bit.
That's an understatement.
Yeah. And but I think it was good. And for me, it was personally for me, it was a very healing moment, because I was like, wow, that was good, you know. So I that's more of a much more personal take, because obviously not everyone's going to have that. But I kind of liked it. I was like, at first I was like, wait, you can't do that. And then
I was like, wait, what?
No, I was the same way. I was like, wait, you can't do that. I was like, no. And then when it all hit me and everything was happening and he's with Jonathan, and I was like,
yeah,
okay.
The Jonathan Kent part kind of saves it. I still don't like it, but I'm like, okay, at least you did something with it. So I'm like, oh, all right, there you go.
Yeah,
but yeah, go ahead.
But I understand why fans are frustrated with that. But I always say, with every iteration of something, now that we have so many different iterations, we don't have one defining iteration anymore. And those days are long gone. I think all of us have to kind of sit back and go, okay, this is going to be his universe and his take. We have to kind of accept it and be okay with it, and just be like, okay, just like the Snyderverse. I didn't like everything in that, but I was like, I'm going to sit back and see what and there were some things I really liked from it. I thought Ben Affleck as Batman was phenomenal.
That was the part that surprised me, because I thought it was going to be horrible.
I was so frustrated that we didn't get to see more of that, because I was like, he
joined the club.
Great. I was bummed that we didn't get to see more of him. And I was very skeptical about that casting.
Me too.
You know, and even Bat-Pat, you know, with the Batman. But he was also surprisingly great, and I very much enjoyed that Batman.
It's like when I had Sam Liu on my channel, one of the things that he said was, look, everyone's married to a version of the characters that got them into comics to a certain degree. We all have these like ideas, this is who the character should be, but ultimately it comes down to viewer preference. It's like, hey, if you like a version of a character and I don't, that's fine. I mean, it's not like see, here's the thing. Too many people treat this like it's politics, where like all of a sudden it's like you have a difference of opinion, you're an a-hole, you're not a real fan. And I go,
and I think that we have to evolve enough a little bit as a community to say, look, we got enough divisiveness around the world. We can all have different opinions and different things. And I think with the beauty of all these different iterations now is, like, I found something really deep and profound in this particular iteration that no one else is going to find. But you found something in the Snyderverse that was really deep and profound for you, and the Reverse and all that kind of stuff. It's like it all exists in a beautiful way, and it can all mean something really.
All of these are valid. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the way I tell people. Exactly. When fans say it's not Superman, I always say, if it has the DC logo on it, it's Superman. I'm sorry. It's like any version of it is Superman. That's the way it's gonna work. But anyway,
and you know, people want to throw the gauntlet down and be like, that's not it, and that makes a cute meme. But let's, like, you know, let's not try to get the gotchas. Let's think about, you know, the message of this film, which is like, you know, maybe that is the real punk rock. You know?
It's like, and to a certain degree, I understand with those people, because there is a certain point where you have to keep certain things consistent, because then like Superman turns into Homelander. It's like, trust me, Brett and I are slowly losing our mind with the current Wonder Woman comics, because they're awful, except for the actual Absolute comics. But it's like, it's like, look, just because I don't enjoy, because ultimately that is like an official Wonder Woman comic. Nothing we say is going to change that.
Right.
So it's like,
but yeah, and I appreciate this. This is a good dialogue here, guys. I really appreciate it, because I hope I'm not, you know, pissing everybody off here.
Don't trust me. I've pissed too many people off in the past. I'm used to it. Trust me. I'm the subject. Trust me. I'm the dude that made a video about Lois Lane being worthless. Trust me. I'm used to pissing people off.
Everyone's entitled to their point of view.
I know. It's all good. But
I think Tara Strong would be upset to hear that, because she voiced our Lois. So you know.
Here's my thing.
And she was hilarious.
I hate comics Lois. Movie and TV Loises are fine. I'm fine with that. I have that rule, because in the comics, I don't like the way she's written. In the movies and TV shows, like Tara Strong, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I like that. That's cool. That's cool. But it's the other thing I want to ask, and then I'll hand over to Britt, is it's like the design work on that show, like the Superman suit was great. The Wonder Woman design was freaking amazing. It took
Yeah.
me a while to
I
get used
love
to
what they did with her.
the hair.
I mean, as much as I
Yeah.
love what they did with Superman,
Yeah.
I thought she was the best version of Wonder Woman I've seen,
Oh
because
my
she's
God.
kind of punk rock,
Yeah.
kind of badass, but still hot as heck. You know, like it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's the Wonder Woman we want. Yeah, we want someone that's going to save our lives and like look kind of badass doing it. So I was like, this is great.
My favorite line from the show is when I forget which episode it's in, but like the javelin crashes in the hangar. It's like there's a bunch of guards in front of her, and then Wonder Woman goes, "Okay, who's first?"
Yeah, that's the that was
that.
Actually, I think our pilot episode was the Galaxy Jest, where
it was that
Galaxy
one.
Jest.
So I'm like, so when I see that, I'm
funny.
like, because I like when people show Wonder Woman enjoying a fight. It's like they even
Yes.
did that in the Snyder verse when she's fighting Doomsday and she gets knocked back and she just smiles. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, because she would enjoy a fight.
She would, and I think that they wrote her really well in this show, and I loved every scene she was in. I thought was just outstanding, and if you know Rachel at all, know her work at all, she's kind of a badass herself too. She's Call of Duty 3, you know. I mean, she's like, you know, she was, I think it was Rachel in Call of Duty 3 actually. So that was her character name, and she was mocapped into that game. So as herself, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But and then here's a little fun fact too. I'm going to brag about her a little bit. So Spider-Man 2. Rachel said she was working in New York at the time they filmed that. If you watch carefully in the subway, this was one of her very first scenes that she ever did on film. She said she is the woman in the red dress that Doc Ock grabs first and throws.
Oh, really?
Yep. So fun little crossover Marvel DC universe fact. So,
and by the way, I looked up. It's Call of Duty Black Ops 3. I have that game.
Yes.
Now it's clicking. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's kind of a fun little bit. Is like I always forget every time I watch them. Oh yeah, it's Rachel. But and she very clearly gets thrown from the subway train by Doc Ock there in the red dress. So next time you watch Spider-Man 2, just keep.
I'm gonna be looking up. I'll have a magnifying glass. But so Britt, I've talked enough. Do you have any other?
Britt, I know. I feel bad. I've hardly been able to.
Come on, Britt. Come on.
I just give you long answers, and then Jared and I talk, and I'm sorry.
Oh no, it's perfectly fine. I'm very much enjoying, all of your answers, and honestly, every question that I've had, you've answered them. But with Kal-El's personality, and well, he basically has an identity crisis, with trying to have 3 different personas going on. First, which one do you sort of connect more with, and it's kind of which do you think of the perspective, overall that he should have, and that goes within your personal journey as being adopted, but also just that if he is to be an immigrant story, that's the one thing that we do go back and forth with the new movie, because it felt like, with you saying this is an immigrant story, but his parents are evil, his Kryptonian side is a little shady, and but you also have this, he's not just human, but it also is a subtext kind of xenophobic because of the Man of Steel by John Byrne, of being human means American. So it's kind of like, so which persona do you connect with, and how do you think that some people have to start writing Superman to balance that out a little bit more?
Britt always asks a really good question.
Man, you go deep, girl. You're like the lowest of podcasts here.
I'm gonna use that, Britt.
No, I don't want to be low.
I mean that in a great way, because you're.
I'm gonna use that now.
You're a good journalist, I should say.
Thank you, Jason. I'm gonna use that.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I hope that doesn't cause too much friction.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Well, throughout the show, it was interesting, and when I was doing some podcasts when the show came out and stuff, I kept identifying with Cal,
Hmm.
and we really even Rachel and several scenes in Wonder Woman they referred to him as Cal. You know, Cal, he's good at everything and things like that. It would be the way they would write him in the story, and so um, I think there was a certain amount of me that had really begun to embrace his Cal persona,
Hmm.
because it's, and I think it was like that's the root of that's kind of the root of who he is,
Hmm.
but it's not the only dimension to him.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
Um, you know, and I think that's what makes this obviously most recent film
Hmm.
complicated for fans,
Hmm.
but um, but it's his Cal side that I think is probably the most underdeveloped in
Hmm.
terms of
Hmm.
writing, in terms of what we see.
That's my point. It's like a lot of writers seem to like ignore that part or crap on that part. That's why that's kind of what informed our feeling of that element of the movie.
Well, and they don't. I think they tried to explore it in Man of Steel quite a bit, because
Oh
they
yeah.
they made a big thing of going back and doing this really cool backstory and
Oh
spending
yeah.
some time on Krypton with
Which I
Jor-El,
loved. Oh my
which
god.
I actually
By the way,
really I did. That was the one thing I did
Russell
love.
Crowe as Jor-El, bro.
Yes,
Oh
that was
my
really fun.
god.
I mean, that was some good casting right there, and
Oh my god.
I will say that was my favorite part of Man of Steel was the time we got to spend on Krypton, getting to understand the tension between Jor-El and Zod and things like that. So, and I still think Michael Shannon was great. I thought he was
Oh
a
my
great
gosh,
Zod. There's so many
yes.
people that say he was miscast or this.
We were talking
I thought,
about that on the
I was
show.
like, I don't see it. I thought he did a really nice job.
So
And
I do a movie stream like early on Saturdays, and we were talking about Man of Steel today. And one of the things I said is that with Michael Shannon, with Zod, you have to have the voice that when he says something, it also has the kind of tinge like "I'm gonna murder you,"
yeah,
and he does have that. Oh my god,
he
yes.
does. He does. And I actually really enjoyed his performances
Oh yeah.
in that. I thought it was excellent. Um, so yeah, I think the Cal side is
Mhm.
is by far the least explored. Um, and I think it's hard because it's
Mhm.
a complicated thing because Clark is essentially the mask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the stranger, as Billy Joel says.
Mhm.
I was just listening to that song earlier tonight, and it's interesting because I feel like that's the mask, and Kevin Conroy would make a big statement about this too, and I thought this
Yeah.
was really wonderful about the way he talked about his portrayal of Batman
Yeah.
was. He was saying, "Well, Bruce Wayne is the mask. Batman is
Yeah.
really who he is." And I was like, "Bro," I was like, "Mic drop."
Yeah.
I was like, "That nails it," and
Mhm.
that's the way every hero really needs to be played.
Mhm.
But with Superman, it's interesting because um, the Clark side of him is still very important to him,
Mhm.
and you see that with him connecting with Jonathan and his parents on Earth. Jonathan and Martha.
Mhm.
Um, the Clark side of him is something that he knew all his whole life before he embraced Superman. So I feel like we've seen a lot of that. We've
Mhm.
explored a lot of that. So I think the Cal side would be very interesting to explore. And it sounds like in this absolute universe, they're trying to.
They're very much doing that. Like he even has like an AI in his suit, like Jarvis, that like refers to him as Cal.
Yeah,
It's really good.
yeah.
But
No, that's really interesting. I know in Man of Steel they tried to make the S like the Signs for Hope, the family logo thing, and which I think is it's clever,
mhm.
because that was a clever thing to do. So that's also something that I think is kind of interesting with that. So in other iterations where we've seen that, but I suppose if I had an answer to that, that would be that. But I guess it's hard because you can't, in the same way the Holy Trinity can't be one without the other.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
Jesus, God the Father, and the Holy Spirit. It's very much like Cal, Superman, and
Mhm.
Clark. You can't really have one without the other. You know,
Mhm. All right,
um,
so we're going to
not to
show
get
you
too
this.
spiritual on you, but yeah.
So this is what this is what the cape can do in the absolute universe. It can turn into like a dust shield.
What? That's
Yeah,
cool.
the way they explain it, or the way he kind of represents it, is the cape is the dust from Krypton.
The cape is the dust from Krypton
that like explode. It's like the remnants of Krypton.
I see. Oh,
So
that's interesting.
He kind of considers himself as like the avenging angel of Krypton. I go, oh, that's. There are also some panels where they draw it like the cape is actually angel wings.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like that makes it like Doctor Strange's cape in a
kind of a little bit, except it's not like a sentient being or something like that. But,
right.
But it's really cool. That's why I really love DC Elseworlds. Like they even did one where like Kal-El, where Martha and Thomas Wayne couldn't like conceive a kid, so Kal-El lands in Gotham and he becomes their kid. So he becomes Batman that has Superman's powers.
Everyone's fantasy, yes.
Yeah, and then it's like the funny part about DC Elseworlds
settles the argument once and for all.
The funny part about DC Elseworlds is that they then merged everything else. Like Lex Luthor became the Joker. So I go, okay, come on, guys. Like that changes.
Some of these other things get a little like out of the.
Yeah, I'm like, it'd be one thing if it's like Lex Luthor is Superman's friend now. Like that was a cool element of Injustice. But I'm like, if you turn everyone into Batman, because that's what a lot of them turn into. Batman. What if Batman was Green Lantern? What if Batman was Superman? They've oddly enough they haven't done what if Batman was Wonder Woman.
Well, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
We're getting there. I'm sure that's probably gonna happen at some point.
And Britt is gagging behind her camera right about now.
I am.
There was a funny moment in one of the episodes with Toyman where, in our show, when Toyman had to play Cyborg had to save the Justice League. Because,
I know exactly the episode you're talking about.
He's like, well, I don't want Batman. He didn't have any powers, and and they just have him kind of.
Batman just looks at him like.
Kari delivered that line so great, and it was so funny. I think when the fun that they had with Batman on our show was particularly fun for Kevin Conroy too, because he's like, I'm always having to play serious. This is fun, And
speaking of Batman, so I was recently rewatching a lot of the Lego DC movies they made for straight to video, and there's one where Green Lantern accidentally calls Batman's utility belt cute. He goes, oh, look, you have these little pouches and your little tool belt. So Batman goes, it's not a tool belt. It's so good. Yeah, I love when they can make like Batman fun but not lose that edge, because you run that it's like it's essentially a balancing act, because you don't want Batman to go full comedic, because you already had that with like Adam West, but it's like particularly with like Conroy, because I get the feeling if you went too that way with Conroy, people be like, that's not Batman.
The humor with Batman is that he's essentially the straight man.
Yeah, exactly. He's a straight man.
And if you saw the short they did, the Good Cop, Bad Cop thing that we did, I don't know if you saw that on YouTube, but we did a bunch of different shorts for Justice League Action, and it was an idea that the writer Jim Krieg had as well. He kind of like, we want to do this scene where Superman, they're and Batman are interrogating a perp, but Superman says, well, hey, you always get to be the bad cop. Why don't I get to be the bad cop? And then it just is like absolutely ridiculous, and and they did it, and we did it, and it's called Good Cop, Bad Cop. It's on YouTube. If you get a chance to watch it, it's probably my favorite performance of Superman that I did, because it's just brilliant writing, brilliant. Everything about that whole scene is really good. And we wind up interrogating Deadshot.
There you go.
And it was. But there you see, it's like there's like this kind of like great chemistry where when that flips, like Batman just kind of raises an eyebrow, and it's like it's hysterical,
Great moment in the old Justice League cartoon where like they're trying to interrogate Deadshot, and Wonder Woman goes, tell me what you know, and then Deadshot's like, I'm not going to say anything. What, are you going to use your lasso on me? Batman just leans over, whispers in his ear, and then Deadshot goes, I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's so good. I love that.
But if you get a chance to look it up, it's it looks like some of the people in the chat have seen it. So
I love that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I'm really proud of that
Mhm.
scene, because it was funny because we didn't we recorded the whole season, and then that scene never came up. Um, hang on, is everybody okay up there? I think my dogs are having like the
It's all
wrestling
good.
match from hell up there. And so so we never got to get to it in the series, and so I was like, oh man. And then but they're like, oh, we have money to do shorts, so we're gonna do that. And I was like, oh great. And that's also where he had this idea, Jim had this idea to do like, well, since we have Mark Hamill on the show, and he's playing Swamp Thing, why don't we get an episode where he's playing Swamp Thing, Joker, and Trickster, and himself, all in one episode.
Oh my god.
And it's this concept where the Joker and the Trickster kidnap Mark Hamill for a ransom, and then Swamp Thing winds up saving him. It's really funny.
That's great. Oh my god.
That's the kind of meta stuff that I was like, yes, this is why this show is brilliant. So
yeah, that's the thing about the show. It's like it has comedic moments, but if you're in on the inside jokes, it really
yeah. I mean, they had a lot of fun, mining the DC universe, for these smaller little characters, Space Cabbie.
Yeah, I was about to say, you guys went really deep in like the DC catalog. There are a few times where I'm like, who?
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised to see Space Cabbie and all these Mr. Mind and and who I auditioned for Cabbie and Mind too. That was the other two that I read for.
Oh, okay.
So but I'm so glad they didn't go to me. So
on the episode where Britt and I talked about the whole show, one of the things we said that was really great is that there's this episode where Lobo shows up at the Watchtower and then the Justice League kick his ass. One of my favorite visuals of Wonder Woman. She's just standing there, the lasso on her neck like this. She's just standing there like a badass. And I'm like, I miss when Wonder Woman is depicted as such. And it's like, Superman's like this, and it's like everyone's like, make a move.
I know that's that's a great moment. That's actually one of my favorite episodes too, when Lobo breaks into the Watchtower. And
I love that.
It's great. It's really, really funny. My other favorites are the one, I can't think of the name of it, but it's it's so funny. It's where Felix Faust like kind of like completely obliterates all of our minds so that we forget we're superheroes. And Firestorm comes because he's of two minds. His mind.
Oh, there you go.
Out. And so he's like, hey guys, we having a meeting at the Watchtower. And Clark's like, what are you talking about? And drops him off a building, and it's like, I'm not Superman. I'm Mild Mannered Reporter Clark Kent, and it's like this, like, it was such a fun episode. And like, they did the whole glasses, no glasses. And it was like, this is great. This is what the fans want. This is what I want. It's it was great.
One of our favorites was the red and blue episode where everyone has like the good part and the bad part.
That was a good one too.
That was so good. It's like I love seeing the genius of that episode was the twist of a inverted Lex is good Lex Luthor, and I'm like, oh, that is clever. Oh my god.
No, that was some good writing there. I agree. That's one of my favorites too.
Oh my god.
The other one is Under a Red Sun. I enjoyed that one a lot, where Steppenwolf tries to get me on a red planet or some planet with a red sun and do a little mano-a-mano. And I still come up with a win. So that was good,
Well, of course, because you're Superman. You can't lose. You can't lose.
Well, the last line of that is, that's why they call me Superman. And I'm like, come on. Like, it's like, I get to say that. Like, that's amazing. Like, are you kidding me? It's nuts. Yeah. And then I really enjoyed, Wes actually asked me to do General Zod too for the show.
Oh, that
is great. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I do Zod as well in the episodes where he's in there.
That's actually a genius idea because he is opposite Superman. So
artistically and practically, it was pretty genius. Because he's like, well, we don't want to cast someone else, and you're great. So,
there you go.
But he thought it would be really fun, and so he's like, but at the time, it was right after Man of Steel had come out, of course, and so he was like, so what do you think? You thinking like you're gonna do a Michael Shannon thing, or I was like Terrence Stamp, and I was like, I was like, I don't know, man. When I think of Zod, I think of Terrence Stamp. As much as I like Michael Shannon,
Yeah.
and he's like, well, Terrence Stamp it up, man. Terrence Stamp it up. And so that's where I got the voice for Neil before Zod. You know,
That's so good.
And I got to say that too, which is like, yes, like
hell yeah, that's so good.
Yeah.
And Dave has a question. So he asks, so why do you think the show was canceled so early?
Well, and you know, there's a lot of theories. We were never really given an official cancellation. And that's actually the truth. It's actually technically not canceled. Cartoon Network just kind of squashed it, sat on it. They have all the kind of like licenses to it at this point. Warner Brothers Animation, they had a deal with, I think they were and I'm not sure of all the legalese and you know, boilerplate stuff, but basically they had an agreement to you know, to release all of the content, some of their content, not all their content, but some of the content, like the made for TV content, on the Cartoon Network, because they were doing the direct to video stuff. But I think they had some kind of deal there, and it was always this like really tense thing. And I don't even know all the details of it, but the producers and everybody that was around seemed to kind of like roll their eyes every time they, oh my gosh, it's so frustrating. And I'd be like, they're like, don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay, you know, it's above my pay grade. But I just got the impression that there was like a lot of tension between Cartoon Network and Warner Brothers Animation, which is unfortunate because I think they kind of like, you know, sucked the life out of a great show, you know.
Oh yeah.
When we were recording it, you know, we were under the impression, all of us, that we were recording these 12-minute episodes to be aired, you know, back to back, much like they do now with like Spidey and His Amazing Friends and like all the, you know, short shows that are out now and stuff. And that was our impression that they would be doing that. Well, when the show dropped, we had this really elaborate like hour premiere with like 4 episodes back to back. The one with the demons and stuff like that, that are like
Power
a 4-part series. Yeah, Power Outage, exactly. And so it was gonna be it was a big hour premiere. We thought this is really cool and like awesome, and then they put it on at like 7:15 on Saturday mornings. And
the time slot really
it killed it.
did kill it.
They did that years ago. They redid, because I used to watch a lot of the Transformers cartoon show and Transformers Armada. They moved it to 6 a.m. So I'm like, when are you expecting kids to watch this?
Well, and you know, and they hyped it. You know, I think they had to legally, they had a lot of things to hype still. But the thing is, the show landed. I mean, even though they tried to squash it, it landed because it lived on the Cartoon Network website for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it was still a very well watched show by a lot of kids and things like that. But we never really got a lot of information on that. And when you're an actor, sadly, you just don't get it. You can speculate, you can talk about, and I've speculated on other podcasts. I just don't really know like why it was never really lived on. No one's ever given me a straight answer, as much as I would love one. But I just think that for whatever reason they were, and also too, so it was 20, and this feels kind of weird. It was like 2015 we recorded it, 2016 it came out, 2017 it ran, 2018 it kind of like, you know, had its run, but it's still playing on different networks throughout the world here and there, actually. And that was all during that transition into streaming.
Okay.
And so I really think what happened is we were kind of the last series produced in a traditional way by Warner Brothers Animation, all these other things. And so, and after that, and even the inklings that we got from some of the producers and people were like, well, because we were wondering about a season 2. And they were even like, well, hang on, because I think there's going to be a big deal where we might wind up, season 2 might wind up on a streaming service of our own. And that was when they were creating HBO Max the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, or what, it wasn't HBO Max, it was something else. It was like,
I think at that point that they were trying to
there
start
was like a Warner Brothers service. Remember, there was a DC service.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. I was
Okay.
about
Yeah.
to say.
So
Yeah.
they were in talks with Time Warner to create, I think, some kind of service, but none of it ever materialized, and it was all because everything kind of took off so fast.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Netflix took off, Disney Plus took off, everything started taking off, and no one could keep up, and no one could figure it out, and so it kind of got lost in the shuffle. I think is what happened, and it's sad because now Kevin's gone. We really can't do anymore, and that really is heartbreaking. I don't think anyone want to see anymore if Kevin wasn't part of it, frankly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, part of it, but so yeah, so.
But that's that's all speculation. But I just know that with the timing of everything, it was like, it just nothing ever came of it, and it was really sad. But I will say, streaming has allowed the show itself to live on and gain new fans, and to like
me.
People are still like, "What is this show?" They'll see clips from it, and they'll be like, "When did this show come out?" And they're like, "What?" And they'll go watch it.
Even me, because I came onto it because they started uploading clips. I'm like, I saw the clip of Superman and Wonder Woman on a date, and I go, I've seen every Super Wonder thing on. So I'm like, why the hell don't I know about this?
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah. I run the Super Wonder Instagram, and I have posted the clips, and it gets thousands of views, and they're all asking, like, where's what show is this, what episode and stuff. So the impact of the show, it really has generated a lot of interest in fans. So it is sad that a show that actually gained the next generation of DC fans is gone.
Yeah. Well, and with everything going on in the cinematic universe at the time too, because keep in mind that was when Justice League was flopping, and
oh god,
it was all during that time. So there was a lot of like high hopes, and then like, wait a minute, wait, what are we doing?
Particularly with the words Justice League.
Yeah.
So it's
so there was a lot of like, we're gonna have a lot of animated content to support this and that. It's gonna be, what are we doing now? And it was like all of a sudden all these breaks were being. So I also think it had a lot to do with the failure of the film too. So
I'll give you that. So let me ask you this: short of anything you've done, what is your favorite animated DC thing?
Oh man, that's a tough one, you guys.
We asked the tough questions, Jason. We asked the tough.
Yeah, you asked the hard pressing questions.
Yeah,
the Daily Planet of podcasts. Yes. You would be the Jimmy Olsen, Jared. I'm sorry.
Thank you. At least I'm not the lowest. That's Brent. At least I'm not the lowest.
Oh, don't shade me like that. Oh my
gosh. Let's see. That's oh man. I mean, there have been really, really, really good ones that I have enjoyed. I really enjoyed Batman Year One. I thought that was a good adaptation.
That's a good one.
Of the Frank Miller piece. Whew, man. I have to say, Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
I have to. I mean, honestly, it's hard for me to say there is anything else out there that's quite as good as that. Because that is so good. I mean, I just, man, I was one of like the 8 people that saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
So because
a Batman animated movie in the theater, I must see this.
I gotta tell you, man, I was there. It came out on Christmas Day, 1993. Terrible time to release that film.
Well, yeah.
And but I was there January 3rd. I'll never forget it. I was like, man, I am so pumped. And I remember seeing it in the theater and just being overwhelmed by how well it was done. And I'd never seen anything like that in an animated content like that. It was truly, a genre bending thing. So I really enjoyed that. And I thought it still to this day holds up, in my opinion, as being an excellent piece of animated content.
Still does.
Still does. I enjoyed, but I would say, if that's my favorite, a close second would be probably Year One. I really
seen the Batman fan.
enjoyed New Frontier. Actually, I thought
that was great. Oh my
really
gosh,
enjoyed
yes,
that was so good, and it felt so fun and fresh and different. And yeah, no, I really enjoyed that a lot. You know, it's tough because they've done Death of Superman and Doomsday, and it's like
many times.
They were good, but I mean, they were interesting. I'm glad I got to watch them. You know,
the one that infuriated me was Hush, because I'm watching that movie.
Really, I actually really liked Hush.
No, because here's why. Change the ending. So I'm like, I'm watching this, and I'm like, I'm watching it.
No,
and then I get to the Hush reveal, and I go, it's the Riddler? No. What did you do?
Yeah, I know.
But it's like, for the most part, I like that. But
now in the comics, was he his own thing? He was his own thing.
He was his own character. That's the part where I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, and what was I thought it was interesting how much the Batman pulled from that too.
Oh yeah,
they like really like it was comical. They even had Hush written in the letters at one point. I was like, yeah, you're basically making a live action Hush right now.
That's when I'm like, you're going to use Hush eventually. I know you will. But the other one that I really like is Throne of Atlantis, because you have because that was the Aquaman introduction in that universe. And
yeah,
I love there's a great scene in that. So the Justice League are find the trench, and Wonder Woman's like swinging them around with her lasso. She just looks with a smile as Superman comes down like a meteor, looks at them with red eyes and goes, retreat.
Yeah.
And they all just I love when they make Superman a badass.
Yeah. I do like those moments when he's in his glory, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's something delightful about that. But still, the wholesome guy we like.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think when he's walking in his strength, it's really awesome to watch. I also enjoyed Red Sun. I thought that was
that one was good. That was really good.
That was a great adaptation of the graphic novel.
They really nailed. I like it when they actually nail the actual adaptation of it. Oh,
and this guy Parker, he said Justice League War. I actually really like that too.
Yeah. Obviously, Britt, I liked it. It's in our intro, but
yeah, I know.
But yeah,
yes, I figured you of all people would like that.
I love the scene when Superman comes through the portal and punches Darkseid, and the Green Lantern's like, "Kick his ass."
Yeah,
like, he's like, kick his ass. Or no, wait. My favorite is when he first meets Batman. He goes, "You're not just some dude in a bat suit, are you?" And the Batman just smiles. And he goes, "What's this dude?" He took off his ring. And he goes, "You're not going to do that again." And Batman's like, "Unless I want to."
Yeah.
No, actually,
that was a really funny moment. Yeah,
there's this one moment from the comics I wish they incorporated into those movies. So Green Lantern and Wonder Woman are in a battle, and Green Lantern's like, "You've been wanting to punch me for a while, aren't you?" And then Wonder Woman goes, "This gives me no pleasure, but I'm sure you've heard that before." The sass on Diana, when written so well, is so good.
It's really funny.
I'm like, oh my god. Oh yeah. Also, the other thing, Wonder Woman seeing Superman, by the gods, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Or like when she shows up, "Greetings, warriors," the Green Lantern, "Dibs."
That's hilarious.
That's
that's good. That's good. And can we just talk about the Justice Gang for a sec? Because I was like, I got to tell you, man, whatever you felt about the Superman film, they were awesome.
The only thing I didn't like is the suits, because I'm like, a Green Lantern suit that has that much white in it. I'm like, no. Because trust me,
it was Guy Gardner though, and it was and it was so awesome, and it was Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. Which
I will say my favorite line was from Guy Gardner is when he goes, "He tells us because we're also of the cloth." I'm like, yeah, he does this, and I'm like, yeah. Or like my favorite action scene, besides when Superman uses heat vision and rotates, is when Green Lantern shows me, goes, "Sorry, kid, Superman couldn't make it. You got an upgrade," and he's using constructs of the middle finger. I'm like, yes, I love that.
I mean, that was so. I mean, there's the elements of gun, the gun stuff that came out like that, and like the Mr. Terrific scene.
He gets the comic booky feel. I'll give him that.
Nails it. I was like, this is great, man. It was so delightful. I took all my kids to see it, and well, not all of them. I took my 12, 8, and 5-year-old. And my 8-year-old came out saying, "This is the movie I'm going to watch when I'm sick. This was amazing."
Mm-hmm.
He was like totally into it. But we had to have a little talk about the middle finger.
Yeah.
So it was pretty funny.
Yeah. So the thing about it with me is like besides
Perfectly cast, by the way.
besides the evil Kryptonians and stuff,
Mhm.
it's like the other part that like kind of took me out of it a little bit is like there were some of the jokes that I feel were like repeated way too many times, like crypto tackling people, and I was like, I get it, but it's like you could have like put a little more originality in the jokes instead of constantly bashing me over the head with it.
Well, you know.
To a degree, but it's like it wasn't that big of a deal for me. But it's like again, the my favorite Superman line is when the Raptors go kill him, and the Superman goes, "Good luck with that."
Yes, that
I
was an
love that.
awesome
That was
moment. That
great.
was great. And I just saw the clip of Adam Tudyk
Mhm.
in the motion capture outfit,
Yeah.
and how he improv that line about Gary
Mhm.
at the end, and it was like a whole improv moment. They're just like cracking up, you know. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. That's really funny. Um,
It's such so that's why it's like for me it's like yeah I obviously prefer Man of Steel, but it's like I see what he was going for and I'm like yeah I enjoyed the movie for what it was.
but you didn't love it, did you?
I enjoyed it. There's a difference between that. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's like, let me put it this way: will I see it on streaming a lot? I'm like, yeah, of course. It's like the
Yeah.
story was fine. I was fine with it, and I was the guy that's like, I know that reference. I know that reference. I know that reference. So I'm like, yeah, I dig that. Plus, I like the idea of a universe where the superheroes have been around for like forever.
Yes, I actually thought that was a nice touch too. I really enjoyed. Okay, we're setting the stage for the new DC universe, and we didn't need a lot of heady overtones. It was just there, and it's great. And now we're able to kind of just run with it, and he's going to have some fun with it. So I agree. I think that was really really cool.
Yeah, but it's
Now,
like,
and then what was Britt? What was your take on it? I
yeah,
haven't heard
yeah.
your take on it.
Go ahead. Britt.
Okay. So you two loved it or enjoyed it.
Oh
I'm
boy, here comes critical Brit.
okay, you know what? The only part again is the it's just the take of the humanity part, the human part. That takes me out of it because of being someone who is ingrained in that notion of immigration and culture. Just that message, it didn't sit well with me.
Mhm.
But as far as the comic book, um aspects of it, he nailed it, of course, because James Gunn, he's comedic. He takes things and he's very much a Silver Age fanboy. Crypto being a Tasmanian devil, he was adorable to me because I had a dog and that she was a Tasmanian, as small as she was.
Yeah.
So, but the movie itself, what he was trying to portray and setting up for the DC universe,
Mhm.
um, he gets an E for effort, I would say.
That's about that's the
Oh, Britt, you're a tough one
biggest
to
comp.
impress, aren't you?
Oh, trust me, I know. It's like I'm still trying to get her to admit that she still loves Superman, and I will do it. I will do it. But it's like yeah. And the other thing I really like, for the most part, I like the suit because I'm a big New 52 fan, and that was obviously like taking some inspiration from that. Except for like the trunks on the outside, I still don't like that, as I've told you. But it's like
Now,
for the most part, I'm like, okay, that works.
Britt, what
Mhm.
is your iteration of Superman that you do like? I'm curious.
Love New 52 because
Which
again,
one? Which one?
he New 52
Oh, really? Okay.
because he was a balance, between his heritage. I just love that. When you go too
Yeah.
much in between both of them and try to compartmentalize his identity, you take away so much from the character. And I
Hmm.
love it when he's more balanced and he's truthful. If he's supposed to
Yeah.
be the man of tomorrow, if he's supposed to be this truth seeker, then and the champion of the oppressed, then I want to see that. You don't
Hmm.
just tell the audience or tell me as a fan. You have to actually show it.
Hmm.
So we need a little bit more of that for the character. And from how the transition between New 52 and Rebirth, or bringing back the post-crisis version of the character,
Mm-hmm.
it was very controversial, and it very mean-spirited, because it gave you that New 52 Superman with him honoring his legacy as a Kryptonian and his heritage. That was a bad thing. But if he just becomes this American icon, then he's the real Superman. And that's just something that doesn't sit well with me. He's supposed to be global. He's not just an American icon.
Mm-hmm. I get that. Yeah.
And plus, even in the new 52, the suit itself was like Kryptonian like armor, so it was very much like on that side of the. So, do you know what they did for Supergirl? It's really cool. So in the Supergirl origin, so she goes into stasis because her parents know Krypton's going to blow up, but no, she's not going to go. So they put her in stasis, and without her knowing about it, so she crash lands on Earth, thinking it's still Krypton, and she goes, "Why am I shooting lasers out of my eyes? And who is this guy that thinks he's Kal-El?" And she doesn't even speak English; she just speaks Kryptonian. So you see, like her, like learning how to do stuff. But there's this great moment in there. It's a Wonder Woman moment, as a matter of fact, in the Supergirl comics. So they're fighting. So like Batman and Superboy are fighting into the Fortress of Solitude. Wonder Woman is holding back an army of guys because she's Wonder Woman. Superboy asks, "You're just going to leave her there alone?" And Batman goes, "You obviously don't know Diana. The most dangerous thing you can do is get between her and a fight."
That's great.
That's so Batman. That's so Batman.
That's very good. Well, Britt, that's a great take. I appreciate you saying all that. That's really cool. No, I think I totally see what you're saying on that. I think there's a lot of that, in our times,
Right.
Let's not beat around the bush here. But yeah, there's a lot of that, art changes with its times, you know what I mean? And we're seeing this interesting dichotomy all play out with what we all thought America was, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think that it's for those of us that have, an understanding of the Constitution and what it's all about, and things like it's hard to see everything happening right now. And I think that Superman has always represented that for me as well. And I go back to the the meme that we see going around from the 50s, where he talks about, that kind of talk is un-American,
Right.
different nationalities or things, it's like that kind of talk's un-American. And I was like, that's absolutely right. That's still true to this day.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I see him as being an international representation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where it's like he is an American ideal, but we always in the past wanted to take those ideals and try to help the world.
Yeah,
I think that was his vision. That was always the vision of Superman as well. And it's frustrating that we don't have to be so petty about our heroes. Our heroes can be other things too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's like with me,
he is an international series, and I like that they did touch on that in this film. I thought, with like
they did
kid raising the flag and things like that, and I was like, that's he was a symbol of hope for everybody.
Yeah. The way I kind of think about it is that Superman's a lot like Captain America in that, he represents what America should be, not necessarily what it is. Because here's the thing. It's like when people say truth, justice, American way, what they kind of forget about that is that American way is essentially like, yes, it also is America, but it's like shorthand for like the ideals that like America should promote or like that Superman should do. That's why I'm like, I get that you guys want to change the American way part, but I'm like, it's like I'm against it when the word American itself becomes like a dirty word, and I'm like, I get what you're going for like trying to like globalize everything, but it's like you just said, there are ways to like project those positive ideas globally without like, because
And is
here's
that
the
what
thing.
you're talking about, Britt? Am I understanding that right?
Right.
Okay.
It's that, yeah, it's supposed to be international. And when it's a balancing act of American, or, and again, how he has been written in the comics so far is human equals American, in American society. If you
Yes,
are
Mhm.
an
I see what
outsider,
you're saying. Yes.
if you are an outsider, if you are of a different culture, then you are rejected, or you don't understand Superman. And that was the thing, when I asked about which side of him do you connect with more, because a
Mm.
lot of times, a lot of the Superman fans, they say that naming him Cal is wrong. And I'm kind of like, okay,
There are
that is,
fans, but by the way, Jason, that do have that like, so it's that like Wonder Woman doesn't
Interesting.
respect the like human form because she calls him cat, and I go,
yeah.
what's the problem?
And the thing is, the respecting the human part is mostly, again, a subtext of American. So when he is called Cal, he is not American enough, or he's not American at all. And then they also
I
tie
see.
that in with his humanity. So it's like, if you
Huh.
call him Cal, then you are taking away part of his humanity. And it's like, no, that's human. It was in Throne of Atlantis, where Clark and Diana are on a date, and she, is talking about the secret identity, and he says, we're just blending in. And that really stuck with me, because yes, the world globally, America is, you know, a blend of all cultures, and we are supposed to respect that. Superman and Wonder Woman are supposed to represent that celebration and that um coming togetherness, and we don't get that all the time
No, that's true. That's very
in
true.
comics.
That's very true. And I think that and so are you talking about when they changed the truth, justice into the American?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that what you're referring to?
yeah. It's like I understand why they did it. I get it, but I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
it
Okay.
was a change that I don't think was necessarily needed, because it's like, what they could have done instead of change it is like essentially come out and say, here's what these are supposed to represent, or here's what they do. Because here's the thing: while I get it, Superman's a global hero, you also can't ignore the fact that he was that he was like an American creation.
Mm-hmm.
He's like part of like American culture to a degree. You can't
Totally.
necessarily forget that. You need to like you need to
Well,
acknowledge that, and then you need to respect that, but also yes,
he
acknowledge that like you
was.
can evolve the hero.
I think it's important to remember too.
Mm-hmm.
He was an American creation, yes, by Jewish people,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
and those Jewish people created him because they didn't see enough representation
Yeah,
in
Right.
comics.
yeah,
So his very creation came out of a lack of representation.
yeah, exactly. But
And
so
that's
fun
I think
fact.
that's really fascinating. So
So fun fact:
Hmm.
did you know that Siegel and Schuster did not want him to get married to Lois? I have to say that.
Good.
I have to. Sorry.
you just won't let that die, will you?
No, I won't. I never will. That's
You
my
let
thing.
Lois die, but you won't let that die.
Yeah, exactly. But on that note, but it's like, yeah, it's because it's like, that's the thing. It's like it is a very delicate balancing act, because what annoys me, because I'm about as patriotic as like as the next guy, but even I'm like, okay, Superman constantly having covers about the American flag, it's a bit much. It's like, I get it. It's like, he's not Captain America. It's for a Captain
Right.
America thing, but he's not like Captain America as well. It's like
I
you
think we
can't.
need to all remember, and this is going to probably anger a lot of fans, but I think
Mhm.
Captain America is derivative of Superman,
Yes,
not the other way around.
yes, he is.
And that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
You know, I think that he just represents a different angle on
Yeah.
things, and in a perfectly awesome way. I love Captain America,
Me too.
but I think if they were to sit down, I think I would love to see a comic where Cap and Soup sit down and have a conversation. I think that would be
such a
really
great idea.
an interesting dialogue, because I feel like, especially in this day and age, you know, they would have this like Socratic dialogue between the two of them, where they're like, you know, you've got a Superman who's a little bit older, a little bit wiser than Captain America, quite frankly. Even though Cap himself is, you know, he's a very old fella, we know. But since he's the derivative of Superman, I think it'd be interesting for them to have this like Socratic dialogue. You know, and I think that you know, they both. I think it's interesting because they both were kind of forced to represent things that I don't think they intended to represent.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, and in Cap, even in the films, like he, you know, he kind of shed that red, white, and blue because he was not happy with how things were being represented in the universe of the movies. And then, but you're right. I think, you know, even though he's an American creation, he was created out of a need for representation, and I think that is really the legacy of Superman.
Yeah,
it's this sense of, hey, we want something that a dark-haired superhero that represents, you know, things that we see, and that was. I mean, if you look at everything that Siegel and Schuster talk about, that's one of the things that is very well documented. You know? And I really think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Especially with
awesome.
He's kind of matured into all these different mediums, so to speak. You know, Britt, does that kind of resonate with you? Is that
exactly? And I always see Superman also as well, as he intended, as a Moses allegory. You know, that it gets lost in transit. And again, some fans are very much married to this to the post-crisis, you know, idea of Superman, where it simplifies him to just, again, this American of acceptance, and it's a little tricky of what's to be accepted in this society, you know. So if you go outside the norm, then you're wrong. But that is the thing with these characters. They are supposed to challenge, you know, what defines normal, what defines
because
what's accepted.
And they're strong enough to challenge those things.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like
they can take those challenges because of what they are. You know, and I agree. I think that's actually really. They're supposed to be the mirror that we have. And I think that I think in a way, touching back on what you were saying, Jared, a little earlier, you know, Superman is in a way a form of accountability.
Yeah.
That we live up to.
Yeah.
The ideals that we proposed that we were going to live up to.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that's the thing. It's like it's like that's why his relationship with Wonder Woman is so like compelling to me, is because they both embrace what makes them different in terms of like, no, we're not going to hide from, like, we're very different from the average man and woman. But it's like we're going to embrace that and use that to help our fellow man and woman, and then we're going to like use that to be of service. Because when you think about it, here's the most compelling thing about Superman. He has all the power in the world. He is the most powerful being on earth. Chooses to just serve other people. That is, if ever I could summarize Superman just like that, it's just that. Why Superman is great, because people see him as like boring because of his powers, because of his whole gee whiz attitude. But no, when you really dig down to it, it's like, no, it's because he could rule us if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to.
And that's definitely goes into the power of choosing who you are. And then Enzo asked a great question.
Did they recommend any comics for you to read to prepare, or when you were voicing Superman?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that, because they didn't come out and recommend anything to me, but I kind of made it a point to just start kind of going out and getting some different material.
And you know, it shows.
Yeah, and I bought one of the first things I bought was the hardback collection of Justice League from the beginning. Like I wanted to go back from the beginning, really explore.
Oh, the OG. Oh, wow,
like
nice.
The Starro episode, you know, the Starro issue and so forth. And I really wanted to kind of like understand all of that and how they connected and how they grew as a team. And so I was reading a lot of that. I was reading. What else did I read? I still was reading a lot of. What is it? What's that one? I can't think of the name of it. No, what's gosh, Grant, is it the Grant Morrison one?
All-Star?
I have All Star, and I was definitely reading that too.
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one though?
Action Comics New
No,
52.
it's another offshoot like All Star. Yeah, why am I blanking?
I'm trying to think what other stories did Grant write for Superman? I'm like, okay, wait, what?
Once in Future Superman? No, that's not it.
I think I know. Is it like For All Seasons or one of those?
Superman for All Seasons. Yes, thank
there
you.
you go.
That one I really resonated with too. So yeah, so those are just things that I began to kind of like pick out and choose and on my own to kind of like give me some support. And then I read that, unofficial autobiography because I really wanted to get into more of like the evolution of him from day one, and then the zeitgeist, and how he's affected the pop culture.
Right.
But I think one of the coolest things I got to do, and this is when I was recording the show, I actually had an old friend who was working at DC at the time. And then, thanks, thanks, Enzo. And he was he worked at DC Comics, and they had just moved their headquarters to Burbank.
Yeah.
Like literally, like just during when I was recording, and it was just down the street from where we were recording too.
That's gotta be cool.
Really cool, like shaped building. And so he's like, "Would you want to come over for a tour?" I was like, "Yeah."
You lucky bastard! What the hell?
So I got to go. So he came over and gave me a tour of DC Comics, the entire offices and all the things, and I got to go in the vault and see all the comics and see the
You're
original.
Making me jealous, dude. You're killing me.
They let me hold the original issue. It was like,
oh my god,
it was really wild.
You're making me jealous, Barry. So
dude, I was like, oh,
exactly.
I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to kind of just like very gently, like I was like, I don't want to touch it.
It's like, am I gonna rip it? Am I gonna rip it? Oh no!
I was like, whew. But it was really neat to see that. That was really special. To see all that and the Detective Comics with him raising the truck,
There you go.
Yeah, it was great, man. That to me was really special, and they have a vault.
Yes, they do have a vault, Cameron, of all the comics.
The vault has every single copy of every DC comic ever made, and it is just one issue, but they have everything on file.
Britt, we got to work for DC Comics.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Make a note of that, Barry. So I have a reading recommendation for you, particularly for that because of what you did with the show. So they actually did an entire comic just about Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship.
Oh, I've seen that. Yes, yes.
It has the Apollo part in it that I told you about earlier. It's my favorite part.
Oh, but I will look it up for sure.
In this, Zod and Feora break out of the Phantom Zone, and it's Superman and Wonder Woman basically against an evil Superman and Wonder Woman. And in this, they deal with a lot of the themes that you did that your show actually dealt with Superman and Wonder Woman.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was really good.
And it's interesting because you mentioned the New 52, Britt, and I think I'm fairly certain that when we started recording and as we were recording was when New 52 was kind of going and then gone. And then it was
exactly.
And it was a weird thing because the face of the whole comic book basis was changing as we were doing the show. And so it was very interesting that they did Super Wonder from that standpoint as well, because I think that's what was going on in New 52.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why they led with that. I know that the writers were doing, well, this is what's happening in the comics, and so we're just leading with that. But then it all changed as we were doing the show.
That's got to be.
Now we're like, well,
trust me, the change away from the New 52, and Britt kind of alluded to this, is why I dropped out of comics for 4 years, because they basically said these versions of the characters are not the actual version of the characters; they're fake versions. So I go,
right.
See ya. And then I came back because they announced the Snyder cut. And I was like, okay, I love these characters again.
It was a weird time for comics.
It really was.
Because what's interesting is to see all this reactive media, I call it. Because the whole DC Snyderverse was a reactive thing to what was happening with Marvel. They were thinking more about, well, gosh, we better catch up to this rather than just telling some really great stories. And You know, and I thought the Wonder Woman film was great, and that was a really great pinpoint in the DC universe. You know, and there were some great elements that were happening, and they still managed to tell some compelling stories. But it was frustrating because behind it all, it felt like this, like we're a bunch of Johnny come latelys. We got caught with our pants down. Now we got to go figure out how to, you know, compete with this.
That was the entire history of the DCEU, bro.
Yeah, and I felt frustrated about it because I was like, guys, I was like, you don't have to do that. Like, you got great characters, you got great stories,
the most iconic superheroes ever.
Yes. And you're acting like you got to like ADHD this whole thing, you know?
No, you don't.
And I just was like, okay, you know, it was frustrating from that standpoint. You know, and I really wanted to like have them take their time and explore some of the things like Marvel was doing.
That's what Zach wanted to do. It's just they told him, no, you have to get to Justice League.
And I know I know that's what he wanted to do. I totally get that. And you know, he would do it all because we have a 4-hour cut of Justice League. So I can only imagine what that must
4 hour for oh my gosh, yes.
You know?
Trust me, here's the thing. As someone that has watched the movie 19 times, it flies by really fast.
Yeah, it goes faster now. Yeah. You know, and then they were trying, I felt like they were just trying so hard. And I'm like, guys, you don't have to try this hard. You know, I think all of us were like screaming, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, don't try this hard. Like, it's like, let Zach do his thing, let the storytellers do their thing. And you know, there's so much corporate minutia at Time Warner and you know, and David that guy. Don't let me get him in a room. I tell you, I'll go off on him because I'm so mad they cut the Batgirl movie and like that, just like all the stuff, and even the stuff that some of my fellow voice actors have been like the whole Coyote Acme movie with Bowser coming out. You know, I know Eric pretty well, and you know, I haven't talked to him much, you know, in the last few years, but because we just, you know, we're in different time zone. But every time I see him, he's such a nice guy, and I feel bad that he's like, you know, he's been campaigning for that so much, and I know it had to have been a great film. You know, the concept was brilliant, and all these idiots are just up there at the top, you know, thinking like, well, we just got to get our bottom lines in order and this and that, and that's it. Okay, I get that, but you don't have to like slice like art out of this, you know, and that's what you are. You are an art.
It's like, look,
you know, you produce that, and I don't. So I feel like to kill the very thing you're producing is really counterproductive. And really,
bro, you should have
really tone deaf. You know,
you should have seen the whiplash I went through when I watched the Snyder cut from watching the old cut of Justice League. Because when I watched the two of them, I'm like, I had not realized a studio could screw up a movie that bad. Because I'm like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, and it's and that's not to say that Whedon couldn't have made a good Justice League movie.
He wanted to delay it. It's just they said it's just the way it worked is that there was a merger going on, and they would only get their bonuses if they released one more movie.
Right.
And I'm like,
and that's the thing is like you just, you know, they're not thinking about the quality of the stories.
No, they're not.
You know, whereas, you know, Feige, for whatever, you know, for whatever you want to think about him, he really does care about the quality of the stories, and Disney has given him full carte blanche to kind of do whatever he wants to do. That's how you protect an IP. That's how you protect, and you still get great profits from it. You know, it's like they're doing very well. You know,
it's like with DC Studios, the thing that I praise them for is that the person in head of the creative is the creative guy, is the guy that knows the comics. They have a separate guy to handle the business, so James can handle, here's the story we're trying to tell, make sure it aligns with this, and then we can adjust as like stuff like changes.
And that's why I was initially excited when Jeff Loeb took over, because I thought, oh, here's a guy who knows the comics really well, who writes the comics, has been involved with the comics since God knows when. You know, and then all that went south, you know, and that's just really frustrating too.
I think you mean Jeff Johns, right?
I'm sorry, did I say Jeff? I meant Jeff Johns. Yes, sorry.
Trust me, dude. As a Green Lantern fan, I could not have been more excited until I was like, what the hell? Oh, by the way, so Enzo asked, when voice acting, did they show you animation before or after you record your lines?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So for those that don't know, when you're doing these shows, you're recording the lines without any animation whatsoever, because the integrity of the performance is what they want to capture.
Yeah.
And back then this was pre-COVID, so we were recording together, which was amazing, and I'm so thankful I had that opportunity, because some of the sessions, guys, I could spend 3 podcasts just telling you about that, because it was just epic. I mean, I remember when we did the Red Lantern episode, Michael Dorn and Armin Shimmerman were in the same room with us, and we were like, what the heck's going on? This is incredible. And if you're a Star Trek nerd at all, it's like your head's exploding. But yeah, so they don't show you any of there's no animation that exists until your performance. And then this was the animation was vended out to a Korean company, I believe. And so it was about a year before we saw any animation come back. And we were still recording at that point. We just finished recording the shorts. And so once you finish recording all the season and the shorts, then once the episodes start coming back, you go into what's called ADR, and you have to kind of start correcting anything. So that's when the animation comes back. They go, well, this line doesn't really work with the context. Now we got to kind of tweak it a little bit, or we have to add a little bit because it doesn't read right. And so, so then you just re-record a few lines here and there, and that kind of thing. So that's when you really start touching up the episodes for final production. So when the episodes came back, then that's when you would try to match up your lines and do all that kind of stuff. When the only time that you typically see animation when you're working is when you're doing a dub. So that's usually more the anime side of things, which I've done that as well. Not a ton. It was earlier on in my career, but I was very thankful I did it, because it was a real learning curve, man. That is a real art form. And I actually have done it for some live action things too. There's a series called Babylon Berlin. It's on Netflix, and I do the English dub of the villain in season 3, and he appears in a few episodes of season 2, and I do a few things there too. But season 3 is where his arc kind of takes off as being like the villain in that particular season.
Is his name Zod? I'm just kidding.
No, it's not Zod. No, it's not.
And then
but it's a fun show if you ever get a chance to watch it.
I'll watch it.
But the weird thing is they wouldn't let us do German accents.
Really?
Yeah, they wanted it all to be English, so it looks really weird. So I don't know.
It does. It does.
I would watch the show that way, but if you want to hear my voice doing it, go for it. It's great. Okay. Parker had a real
now it's like if I do watch, I'll be like, I know that guy.
Yeah. Okay, Parker had a real question. What advice would be as a voice actor?
What would be your advice to voice actors?
So this is the question that all voice actors get, and I will say all of us say the same thing: become an actor first. Go to acting school, do theater, learn acting, because the voice acting is just kind of like a division of the medium, so to speak. If you want to only be a voice actor, then just hone all your acting into that, but learn how to act too. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it was always about doing theater and film and things like that. And the voice stuff just kind of happened to evolve because I have a real knack for doing impressions and things like that. So that was awesome, and I'm so thankful that it has become that, because I've grown to truly appreciate the craft in a whole other way. But that's the best thing you can do, is just begin to learn acting wherever you're at. Because I feel like that's going to be what takes you to wherever you want to go. I don't know to what degree anyone might be interested in becoming a voice actor, but there's a lot of great resources. There's a website, so you want to be a voiceactor.com. I think that's what it's called.
I think Tara Strong does.
Strong probably does something. But that website is James. Is it James Arnold Taylor?
Yeah, I think
that's who does that one.
Yeah,
and he's great. So these are the people that you want to be following.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's who I follow. You know what I mean? Like I'll tell you right now, like I spent a lot of time listening to Rob Paulson's podcast, Talking Tunes, before I ever did anything. And that's the stuff that you want to listen to too, because that's the real education right there. You can go to the acting classes, you need to do that too, but also really, I mean, and stuff like, you know, my stories and things like that. Those are where you learn different tricks, different things, and like different ways to like uh, try new things. There was one episode of oh gosh, Talking Tunes that was. I still want to go back and listen to it. I've listened to it several times. It was the one with Corey Burton, and I don't know if you ever know who Corey Burton is, but he's done a ton of Disney stuff. He's the main voice for Captain Hook.
Okay.
He's done a ton of other things, but he's got a knack for matching voices, much like myself. So his story is very similar, and but he had some really interesting things happen for his career in the 70s that would never happen today, that allowed him to kind of get where he's at now. And now it's tough because the market's so there's so much stuff. The good news is there's more content. The bad news is there's more content. So it's like it's like this double-edged sword where it's like you have a lot of opportunities now, but that means you have a lot more competition too. So it's not easy. I would say I audition probably about 200 to 300 times a year. I book maybe 4 or 5 times, if I'm lucky, and that's on a good year. So just to give you an idea of like how much I'm working to just get that, and it's weird because you would think that with a body of work now, with a great show like this underneath your belt, they'd be like, oh, hey, let's get. And it's like. It doesn't matter. You still got to go audition. You still got to do your thing. You still got to get out there and be great. And that's been hard for me. Is like, and some people it does happen where you get into that circle and you kind of just start evolving into that circle. Like Eric Bauza did that. He just kind of evolved into doing a lot of different things, and sometimes that happens, and that's great. But it doesn't always happen that way, and you got to keep working. My friend Caitlin. Caitlin Robrock, who's the voice for Minnie Mouse now, currently. She worked really hard to get where she's at. Went to every workshop, did everything she could to learn, and really put herself out there. And it was funny because I remember going back. I started going to Comic-Con in San Diego around, I want to say it was like 2004, because that was when I was right after I did the Joker thing, and I just got all this, because I learned I can go for free as a professional. I was like, hey, I'm gonna go. But then I realized, like, hey, this is a great place to network and meet people, and I met Caitlin not long after that. And so, and all these people, we were all going to Comic-Con back then, just trying to get to know people, put yourself out there, having a demo, have your business card, this and that. It's like, you got to kind of really not be afraid to put yourself out there, but you also have to go like, oh, okay, I don't want, it's like, you have to be really polite too, and cool, because, you got to read the room, so to speak, a little bit. You don't want to like throw yourself in their face, but you also want to like, say, hey, I've got something to offer, if you just got a minute or just got a second, that type of thing, but be very respectful. Don't be like a nudge, but that's the thing, but you do have to go out and make yourself known, put your face out there. People will begin to get to know you and see you. Oh, there's that guy. I did that thing. Okay. Well, maybe you never know. I mean, I've gotten gigs out of going to these events and doing. So it does pay off. So
it's like the worst they can say is no. So it's like, all right, that's fine. So that's the worst that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then Parker asks, was there a certain scene or a certain character you played that gave you something you discovered about yourself that really hit home or deep about yourself, or that stayed with you?
Oh, that's good, man. I don't know. I would say, man, that's really profound. I don't know. Yeah, I guess in voiceover, I don't. I think that. So I used to do this stuff at Universal Studios in Hollywood for about 25 years. I was Donkey, and then in the last 10 years I was there, I was also one of the voices for the Transformers.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and if you've seen the Talking Optimus or Megatron, that was me, and a number of other guys too. Josh Petersdorf, Chris Tagliaferro, a couple other guys in the voiceover realm as well. And then we even had what's that kid? Oh gosh, he's so good. It'll come to me. But anyway, but we had some really great voice talent with us. And then Neil. Oh gosh. Why can't my brain is like?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
We all have those days. Trust me.
Why am I? Oh my gosh, I am brain farting so hard right now. Yeah. Let me see. Hold on a second. Neil Kaplan. I'm sorry, Neil Kaplan. I love you. I'm sorry, my brain farted. If you ever see this, yeah, he was there with us too, and he did some Voltron stuff, and he did Optimus too, and I think it was Armada. Was it Armada?
Yes.
Yes, I think he was Optimus for that. But anyway, so there were some moments. I think Parker. Getting to your question, where in my I did a lot of work there. 25 years. And I did Donkey, and I did Mr. Ping when we had the Chinese New Year, and I did Optimus and Megatron. And in all those moments, I think there was this ability, whenever I was faced with something new, like Donkey or Mr. Ping, and you had to find some work, I would find a way to evolve and adapt to it. And I think that even when I thought, like, I was like, there's no way I can do Mr. Ping, but hey, here I am. I can do it. It's okay. And it was really like, wow, I didn't know that was within me. I'm kind of like always trying to challenge myself with trying to find new characters to do and things like that. But a lot of times those opportunities would just kind of like fall into my path or whatever, and then I would try to rise those kids. Sometimes I wouldn't do it, sometimes I wouldn't make it, but I think it would but the times that I did taught me that, hey, there's a lot more there. And then with doing Swamp Talk with Shrek and Donkey, which was interesting because I've been doing Donkey in the Park so much that this opportunity to do mocap Donkey with DreamWorks came up. And it was all mocap, the episodes we did with Swamp Talk. And so I had this opportunity to go work with them and do these episodes, and man, that right there, when I started doing the mocap stuff, that taught me a whole other level of work that it was happening and capable of, and I was falling in love with, because as an actor, it's so much fun to do mocap. Like it's so limitless. You're not constrained by anything.
Yeah.
And it's except your imagination.
Yeah.
It's a little more challenging in the sense that you have to really think about where you're looking and what you're doing. So it's a little bit of muscle memory is a little bit different, but and your eye lines and things like that gets a little bit hard but once you get past all that and you understand, it's really freeing and really fun. And I began to realize, like, hey, I started working, and I think what all that taught me was that all of my years of experience have given me this creative perspective on things that I can now offer to do stuff like be creative directors and things like that, and to do things in those ways. Because what happened is that we started messing around with the idea of the mocap. All the time I was doing Swamp Talk, I said, guys, this needs to be in theme parks. This is actually like a great technology to do for a live action live interaction in a theme park. And they're like, really? I was like, yes. I was like, this is the next generation. Like, instead of talking to a fuzzy character, what if you were talking to like an LED wall with like an actual person responding to you, and you were talking to an animated character, kind of like Crush, but the next level, taking that to the next level. And they're like, huh. And then one of the mocap gals, her name was Sarah. She saw me in the park one day, and she's like, yeah, we can do this. Like, they came to Universal and they're like, I think we can do this. And she came up with this concept, to create like the noodle shop with Poe. And DreamWorks had this thing called Take Your Kids to Work Day. And so the 1 year we were like, let's do this. Let's really try to do this. And so we created this, we tested all these ideas, and I was R&D-ing this stuff with them. And it was really fun to be able to take all of this stuff that I had done as an actor and a performer, and to begin to use it to create something entirely different and new. And that was where I began to see, like, hey man, this is not the end. Acting is not just the end for me, and there's a lot more to that. And so I think that was the performance, I guess, if you would say, that taught me. Donkey really taught me a lot about myself that I was not really
ironic.
Prepared. I know, and prepared to understand, but also you just never know where these things are going to take you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why you just keep moving forward. You keep trying to find, the next gig. So
exactly. And then Britt and I will ask you one more question, and then we'll let you go.
I know. I'm sorry. I mean, this is like 2 hours now. I mean, you guys are awesome.
Britt and I normally go 4 hours, so you're good, bro.
Really? Oh wow.
Yes.
We've gone for 4 hours. It's like a contest to see how long we can go. But anyways,
do people listen to all 4 hours?
Yes.
Somehow, yes. I'm like the same people stick around for the entire
who
episode.
Watch for Justice League, Zack Snyder.
I know. It doesn't bother me. I saw it 20 times. So, Britt,
that's a good question, Parker. Thanks for making me think about that. That was good.
So, Britt, your last question, Britt?
Okay. Well, actually, I have 3, but they're really quick. Okay. So the first one, we loved, Jim Krieg, how he respected Wonder Woman.
Oh,
and also Superman in Justice League Action and in Tomorrowverse. And we know that the behind the scenes of DC Warner Brothers was a mess, and the transition of the transition of James Tucker, and that mess of the New 52 with trying to go from Rebirth and everything like that. How was your experience, with overall production of, even in the midst of that, chaos?
Well, I think it was just a subtle background. It wasn't, the thing about a production of that scale is like a lot of the decisions are made months before we even get to that point. I mean, if not years sometimes. But that was all backdrop to all the things that we were leaning into and doing. So it did create this kind of like, well, what's going to happen? Like a moment of like, and Jim was in the midst of writing all that stuff, and then being promoted too. Like he was getting to be going to producer level for things and stuff. And, and Wes was being asked to do other directing things too. So there was a lot of shifting of the guard, so to speak, there. And I haven't. The thing is, I haven't gone back and done a ton of stuff directly with that team again. Sadly, they've all gone on to do other great things. But last year I did. It came out last year, but I recorded it like 2.5 years ago. But it was the DC Kids show, the DC Metal Force, which is promoting toys, basically all the heroes in mech suits.
God damn it, Jason! Now I gotta watch that show.
Yeah, it's very kid friendly, very fun. But I was Superman and Brainiac, so that was an interesting thing because I didn't know I was going to be doing Brainiac. I will answer the question. I'm just kind of like
no, it's all good.
No, you're good.
But I haven't been able to go back and work with that team since, and it's been interesting to see how all that fallout has created such an interesting stage with this new DC universe kind of being created. And yeah, I think being a fan of the comics, and I will say I'm not as disciplined as reading the comics as I'd like to be, but I do kind of like always make sure I check in and kind of go, what's going on here, I don't want to miss anything. And because I really respect the art form. I think it's such it's an amazing thing, and I desperately want my kids to be able to get into it, and they're slowly coming around.
You're raising them right.
If nothing else, the movies they're loving that. I got them into Doctor Who, so that's, I feel like, way to go there. But yeah, so I feel like it was a very odd time, as I recall, mainly because not only was the whole DC universe in flux, but then the business models were all everyone had their hands up in the air, like we don't know what the hell's going to happen now. traditional TV was like beginning to fall apart, and all these other things that we had planned were like, we don't know. And the crappy part about it was at the core of it all was this great art, was this great animated series that we had that we just now can't really do much with, and it's just such a shame. You know, and then the comics, you know, kind of like, you know, them flip-flopping with, you know, oh well, that was all fake and blah blah blah. You know,
Yeah,
like,
trust me.
I just feel like that was such a betrayal of the fan base, you know.
Thank you.
It was hard because there was a lot of people that didn't like the New 52 too.
Yeah.
They were frustrated with it. They were like, what are we doing, guys? And I think what it does, you know, overall, Britt, is that, you know, this whole man versus the corporation kind of thing, man, art versus commerce. That's what it's, this art versus commerce battle that we're never going to fully win one way or the other, and commerce will always have the upper hand on, sadly, mainly because they are the ones pulling the strings. They are the ones with the money, you know, and that's what is it for better or for worse, that seems to be what makes so many of the decisions. But what's really great is, despite all of those things, you know, you've got the truth of these characters that are still living on.
Yeah.
You've got and they're beginning to, I think they're kind of like now finding themselves again.
Yeah.
You know? And I really like what they're doing with the sons, the super sons. I think that's interesting. Now we're seeing this whole kind of other world grow into like, you know, them being fathers, and I think that's really fun for the Gen Xers that are fathers that are reading this and go, yes, we understand. You know, and that might be harder for younger audiences. I don't know. But all of that is, yeah, it's causing us to really question our heroes, you know, in a way. And I think that where we stand now is realizing that, hey, you know, the inherent truths that are there, we are going to be there, no matter what shape they continue to take. You know, that is, Superman is a symbol for good. He's a symbol for truth and justice, not just the American way.
Yeah.
But for all mankind. And you know, and Wonder Woman is a force of empowerment for women and strength and good, and she, you know, and then, you know, and Green Lantern can be an asshole. No, I'm kidding. No, but no,
it depends on which Green Lantern you're talking about.
Right.
That's true. But no, you know what I mean. Like all these, you know, he will always in brightest day and blackest night. You know, evil shall escape his sight. You know, those things, the inherent truths in the characters are not dead, and those things have continued to power through all of this BS, you know, that has kind of hurt the industry, in my opinion. You know, I think that like I said, it betrayed a lot of fans, and I think it really made people go, well, gosh, you know, is anything sacred anymore? You know, and it's like, I just feel like it's like, you know, that's frustrating for people when you, and it goes to show you what happens when you listen to data rather than listen to like, hey, I'm just going to force this story. We're going to follow it where it goes, and let's just see where we end and go with it, you know. And so many people are, you know, so many corporate commerce and corporations are just so following the data because there's so much of it available now. And you can understand a lot with the data. I think it's important to understand the data. I don't think you should make every decision based on that, though.
Right.
And I think it's you know, you're because you're going to wind up looking like, well, we're going to flip flop. Well, we're going to make a quick. We got to catch up to Marvel. We got to do this, and then you've kind of lost all your fans, because then like everyone's, you know, you're like, now you've got this kind of mess that you got to go, well, we just got to kill it, boom, start over again. Well, you know, how many times are you going to do that, guys?
Because the fan base is inevitably going to go, why should we care if you make changes? You're just going to undo them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I feel like, at least with Marvel and on that side, they're working very hard to try to preserve all of that, and both keep everything comic accurate and both in cinematic and comic lines and things like that. And I think you can also go to the other extreme and get so pedantic that it's like, come on, guys, that's
Inevitably stuff is gonna have to
right,
change, though. It's the balancing act there.
right. And there is a narrative difference between a visual medium and a reading medium too. So you're never going to have a perfectly comic accurate film. You're going to have changes. You're going to have growth. You're going to have things that are amalgamated into one character. You're going to have you have to do it that way to tell a visual story. You can't literally tell the story frame for frame, even though Zack Snyder tried with Watchmen, I will say.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Thank you.
He did try. That's a different podcast. We can talk about that a different time. But I feel like, overall, we're seeing this art versus commerce play out, Britt, and it's and it's interesting because I feel like the bones are being laid bare. We're seeing where these people that make the decisions, where their loyalties lie, and they do not lie with the fans. They don't.
Right.
They lie with the bottom dollar. But then we as the fans have to go, okay, well, why do I like these characters to begin with? Is it because of what David Saxel's doing? No, it's because he's an idiot. He didn't know what he's doing.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, big time. Like he really has no idea what. I mean, he has idea what the shareholders want, and that's what he thinks he's doing, and he thinks he's doing the right things for the company and for the bottom line and for the tax write-offs and all that stuff. I get that. If you're in show business, you have to have a component that understands that. But I think to have this scorched earth approach to it too, like he's doing, it's not healthy and not good, and shows that he doesn't really fully understand the big picture. And here's the thing: I don't think it's that he doesn't understand. I think it's that he doesn't care, because he doesn't have to care.
Yeah,
he's going to get his bonuses. He's going to do his thing, and he's going to go home and be like, I don't give a shit. And that's really sad. And that's the really sad. And we, the fans, are then left to care. So, and we're here to kind of pick up the pieces and like go, well, now what do we do? And the hard part is, even as actors, like I said, we were given no clear understanding as to why the show didn't get a second season. We were never given like an official cancellation notice, nothing. And to this day, we're still kind of like, so what's going on? Is we still around? Like, what's happening? We know it's not going to happen, but it's like it's still weird. It's still kind of in this void, and that's because there's so many things happening above us, and the wheels in the cog are so big. The actors are the last to know. And that's I wish I had better news for you than that. But I think that's where we, as the fans and as the talent, as the actors, we just need to realize that, like, hey, the truths that are in these characters are going to live no matter what these idiots do. And that's what we must hold on to, and that's what we need to find. So that's the long answer.
Exactly. It's all good. It's all good. That's what I always tell people. It's like, look, even if they decanonize something, you still have the comics. You can still read. They're not going to come into your house and take your comic books away. I like to see them try. So, but it's like, look, I have a trident for that very reason.
Out of my cold dead hand.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you can always go. It's like when they decanonized Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship. I still read the books.
I imagine the ultimate, like, you would take my comics out of my cold dead hand.
Or it's like me in like 300 with the trident and the cap shield. I'm like, come and get them.
Wow. Nerds unite, guys. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Britt.
Oh my God.
Next question, Britt.
So with 3 words, simple words that describe Superman for you overall.
What's that? I'm sorry. One.
3 words that describe Superman.
I think it's the 3 that I hear in my head every time I think of him is, I don't lie.
there you go. I like that. I like that.
That's powerful.
Because everything about him, his purity comes from that, and that's the truth. That's the justice. That's everything comes from those three words. So, or I know he says, "I never lie." Sorry, that's the more accurate quote. I never lie. You know, and that's promises kept. That's that's everything. You know, I think that's the Achilles heel for him. If you were to compromise that, I think that would be a serious, values issue for him. So,
and then he turns into Homelander.
Yeah, it's interesting because he walks that tightrope every day. You know what I mean?
Which is interesting when he says, "I don't lie," but you're lying about your identity by saying you're Clark Kent. That's the interesting part of that.
Well,
though.
it's lies of omission.
Yeah,
it's lies
exactly.
of omission.
Well, is he? He's as much Clark Kent as he is Superman.
No, but it's just I've seen people ask him, like, "You're not Superman, are you?" He goes, "No, I'm not." but it's like, yeah, I get it, and yeah, it's still it makes it interesting. But I do agree with you. It's like on the important stuff, like on the here are my principles. I don't lie about my
and
principles.
I think that when he says that I never lie, it's more about I never break a promise. I think.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. I like that.
And I think that's more about what he's insinuating.
Yeah, me too.
The things he does to protect himself and those he loves, and and having the identities and so forth. I think that's, but I still don't think he's lying. I think that he is as much Clark as he is Superman, and as much Cal as he is Superman. I mean, he can't be one without the other.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
So in that sense, I don't think he's lying. But is he protecting? Sure. But I think when he says I never lie, it means I never break a promise. And that's really what he's trying to tell Lois in that moment, I think, in the original film. So
that works. I you know what? I like that. I'll take that. I will accept that. But anyway, so Britt, next question.
For Superman's, being 90, almost 100 years old.
That's right. Wow, that's true. Oh my gosh.
Why do you think that the character remains relevant, even if they say he's boring and he has had some stumbles and fumbles throughout the decades, but he still resonates and and his original message, OG Golden Age message. Why do you think that still resonates today, and how?
Well, I think that goes back to the conversation we had a few minutes ago. Those truths are timeless. The truths of those things are timeless, and they power through. I should say they transcend our concepts of culture, and so I think that that's something that will continue to remain solid. So I think that's it. I mean, he's a transcendent character.
After
all, should be.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, he's an ideal as much as he is a character.
Exactly. He is. Yeah, he is an ideal, and he is an ideal. Like I said, that, and like I'll say, it should keep us accountable to the things that we hold ourselves to. I know a lot of people that saw this movie this summer and have said, I want to be kind. I want to work. I need to be kinder. I myself found myself saying that. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wow, like that's a profound thing. Like that a movie can do that. I mean, that
was
yeah.
I had that same thing with like Man of Steel, going back to the Snyderverse, because the overall thing, because what Snyder really emphasized is like Superman being like different and maybe isolated from people, and I've kind of felt that, particularly in my college years. So it's like to see someone as powerful as Superman go through like that and emerge fine, that's like very inspirational. It like shows me that you can get through this. That's the real that's the other strength of Superman, is that he shows someone no matter what, you can get through anything. It's like my favorite moment for Superman is an All-Star where the girl's about to jump off the roof and he goes, "You are so much stronger than you could possibly think you are."
Yeah, and actually, you know what, man? Gosh, I go back to that so many times.
Whenever I have a tough time, or like whenever Britt has a tough time, I'll send her just that page, because that itself pushes me through the worst moments.
Well, and again, that's why he's going to continue on.
Yeah,
because
no
of those few frames in that comic, man. That, buddy. Yeah, I certainly have had dark moments like that in my own journey, and yeah, it's something that, you know, mental health is so hard to deal with, but I tell you, it's something that when you read that, it's a reminder to, like, okay, you know, it's like Sam's speech in Two Towers. It's like, you know, it's like those moments where you're like, yeah, that's the stuff you hold on to and remains true. Again, those are the truths that we inherently want to believe in, that keep him relevant. So
exactly. So Britt, third question.
Did she ask it?
That was my third question.
That was
fourth, go.
I'm done.
I mean, okay, it's only three. But
all right. So for me, I really have two. So, like, what's your favorite Superman comic story?
Ooh. Wow, that's an interesting one. Boy, you know, I don't know. That's a really interesting question.
Because there's so many. That's the really interesting thing. There's so many great Superman stories.
It's really that's hard to nail down. I mean, All Star is definitely up there.
Have you read Superman Birthright?
No, I have not read that one.
That's kind of a more reinvention of the origin. What they do with that is really cool.
I've heard of it though, but I haven't read it yet.
The best moment of the story. Do you mind if I tell you a moment from the book? There's this great moment where Lex Luthor creates a machine that lets him like talk through time, so you can like talk to like the past, because he wants to talk to the Kryptonians and learn about their scientific stuff. The last thing in that book is Superman like talks to his parents before the planet blows up and says, "Mom, Dad, I made it." Because it's like they send him away wondering if he's going to make it to Earth or he's going to like crash into an asteroid. No, but that last moment is him saying, "I made it. You accomplished what you wanted to do."
That's profound. That's very profound. I think, yeah, geez. I don't know, man. That's really good. Yeah. I think I have to stick with you know, All-Star Superman probably.
Yep, there you go. That's the one everyone says, but because it's.
But I mean, it's just because it's so good. It's so good.
Because here's the thing, it's like, while it's not necessarily the story I would give someone that's just getting into Superman, it's one to like summarize in 12 issues. That's who Superman is. Yeah,
no, for sure. And I think it's just so delightful to, you know,
it's like, fun. It's fun.
And the artwork's great too. I love the artwork. It's beautiful. I have it sitting right here actually. So it's like, Enzo, you were asking something real quick here. What do you say?
He says, do you collect souvenirs from projects you work on?
Yes, actually I do. Much to my wife's chagrin. Yes. Yeah, I do. I try to keep a trinket of something. I think that's important. You know, it's like every Batman has his trophy room kind of thing, right? You know, it's like, but I think it's important, you know, and here's why.
It's a memory.
Well, it's an important thing, not just as a trophy or like, oh, I did this kind of a thing. It's kind of like, you know, not to get too like biblical with you, but you know, like when they would build altars in the Old Testament, you know, like every time something happened, like they'd always build an altar, right? It was always to signify something that God did that was really special and really great. That's kind of what those are. The trinkets are there for me to kind of go, hey, that's when God did that. You know, that's when he opened that door, did this thing, and I think that's important for all of us to remember. I don't need to keep a ton of stuff, and certainly I probably keep more than I should. But
we all have that moment.
But I think that's important. You know, we need to go back and remember our victories and remember, hey man, we got enough bad stuff that happens along the journey. So let's hang on to the good stuff. So
exactly. Now here's my next question. You know this is coming. What, in your opinion, is the best Snyderverse Superman moment? I had to. Because I'll tell you mine in Batman versus Superman, and like they have the news people like talking about, is he a threat or something like that? And he's just saving people.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I had to ask it, you know.
You know, I gotta tell you, this is probably gonna make people really frustrated, but I think for me, it's the moment that, you know, it's the Martha moment. I think it's when they both realize their moms are named Martha.
You're the first person to ever say that. Yes, thank you.
I think for me, it's got to be that moment, because I think that's one of the most, and I will say that's my favorite part of the entire Snyder universe, honestly, is that moment, because it's like, I think it's the most profound moment for both those characters.
Yeah.
For them to realize, like, hey, we may, like, wait a minute, what? We both, oh, well, shit. Now I
can't believe no one ever like did anything with that. But
no, I understand the significance of that, and and I will say I applaud Snyder for doing that, because that's the first time I realized that, and I was like, whoa,
it was right there in front of us all along.
And a lot of people were like, oh, that's so corny and stuff. I was like, really? I was like, because I think that's actually pretty awesome,
because it's like Batman became Joe Chill in that scenario, and all Superman's thinking about is, please save my mother.
Yes, and it's like they both had and they both understand that connection they got, and in that moment, Batman saw his humanity, and Superman saw his mercy, and I thought that was, what a great way for them to, like, just kind of like bury the hatchet a little bit.
I think you just made internet history. The first person to say their favorite moment was the Martha moment.
Well, and that's why I say I know how a lot of people view that moment, and I just, I'm just gonna go punk rock and say, well, screw it. I think that's the greatest moment of the entire Snyder franchise.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Cameron says, now that's a take I never thought I'd hear.
I know. Yeah.
My last question is, what do you think is the most underrated Superman story, as a follow-up to my first one?
Ooh.
The one that not enough people talk about.
Ooh, man. That is good. Oh, you know what? Okay. I think Superman 3.
The movie? Oh my gosh. Really?
And here's why. Because I was talking about this with on Andy on the Batcast too. I think that the whole sequence where he goes evil Superman is something that I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. That is one of the most underrated stories, I think, in all of Superman's lore, because that's about the only time I think we've ever really seen that in any medium that I can recall, unless that's in the comics somewhere. I don't know.
They might have. Well, you kind of did a version of that in the Red and Blue episode,
Correct. Yeah. But I mean, that was the first time that audiences had witnessed that kind of thing. And I remember as a kid watching that, I was like really confused, but then I was like, but he kind of comes back and he like fights. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think that's when you wrestle with that darkness of ourselves. That was actually that's a compelling thing. I think that is worth exploring some more.
Man, these past two questions have been two things I never.
Mind-blowing.
You praise Martha and you praise Superman 3. My God. What is happening?
I've committed heresy now. I'm completely.
No, it's all good. Trust me, dude. I trust you. I'm the guy on the internet that hates Lois. I'm used to committing heresy. Trust me.
Well, and I mean, I won't say Superman 3 is a great movie. It's like, I think that particular, it's a frustrating film because, you got Richard Pryor in it, who's brilliant, but I'm like, why is he there? I don't understand what's happening. And it's another land grab by Lex Luthor, and there's a missile, and it's like, okay, it just felt like it was like, okay. Another example of corporate getting involved and going, we have to make it funny, and Richard Pryor's great, and he is great. He's wonderful. He's brilliant. But what? It felt strange.
Yeah. So, before we go, I want to show you my favorite Superman moments from the Snyder cut. It's not that much of a spoiler. It's only 5 seconds, but to set this up, Steppenwolf is about to act cyborg, and then this happens.
Oh. Yeah. That's a great moment, man, for sure.
AU when Superman gives the world of cardboard speech, he's like, I don't have to hold back because you can take a full punch from me. Let's go, bro.
Yeah. No, that is really good. No, I do like that.
Or it's like in the Apollo scene I told you about earlier. The conversation before that is Superman goes, so you're a god, right? And Apollo says, yes, of course. I mean, it goes, good. Because here's the thing about me. Normally when I punch someone, I have to hold back. But since you're a god, I can punch you as hard as I want. I love when Superman goes that much sassy. And he's like, oh, yeah, I could absolutely destroy you right now because you can take a punch.
Yeah. No, I think that was I love those moments too, where Superman gets really, and what I did, I will say it was interesting in this new film. I feel like Gunn kind of really wasn't afraid to bring out his cockiness too, a little bit, which I was like, oh yeah, he is a little cocky sometimes, right? Because he's Superman. And I kind of was like, oh yeah, but there's some moments it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's like, but yeah.
And now, last question: is there any particular Superman Wonder Woman moment from the show that's like your favorite?
Oh man, I think, geez, yeah, when I think that moment where it's like I think it's in that same episode, the Repulse episode, where it's like, well, you never need saving, and so it's like when he says that to Wonder Woman. So I think that's a really,
or it's like someone said in the chat where like where like Superman and Lex are being pulled into a black hole, and Lex goes, "We need a miracle," and Superman goes, "And here she comes!" Right?
Oh yes, that's another one that's another one I really liked. Yeah,
that's such a good moment.
Yeah, I actually love that. That says it all. That whole episode kind of says
that is such a great episode.
It's a fun episode. If you're a Super Wonder fan, it's
required viewing. That's required.
It's gravy.
Yes, it is. It is. But Jason, thank you so much for having for coming on the show.
And you guys, thanks for listening to me talk.
The first interview we've done on this show. So hey. We started with Superman, so there you go. But
sweet.
But yeah, so it's always been a pleasure, and do come back on anytime. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll plan something else. I think for maybe Superman's 100th, maybe we could do something.
Oh, that'd be fun. I'm definitely down with that. Let's do that.
I forgot, Britt. It's coming up, right? Like it's like in the next couple of years, right? Like
something like that. Yeah. Yep. So we'll have to do that.
It's been lovely.
They do that. It was like the 20s. I want to say it was like
1938 is when the character first showed up.
Was it 38? Oh, okay. Well, then we won't.
So 2028 should be the one.
But, we won't do it. We won't do that one.
Well, you know how there's always a Superman Day. We'll just do something Superman there. Day. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Superman Day. That's right. I've always wanted to go to that. Is that they do that thing in Metropolis too, right?
They did that, and I know at my comic book store they did like a thing where like they had exclusive covers for like All-Star Superman and all that, and they had like these whole like if you buy Superman comics you get for free Superman comics or something like that. So
yeah. Free comic book day. Yeah,
that's always a magical time of the year.
Now are you guys on the West Coast then? Are you?
I'm on the East Coast.
Oh, you're on the East Coast? Yeah, I'm in Detroit now, so I'm. We moved out here to be close to my wife's family, but I'm still auditioning and trying to get my booth set up, and it's a bit of a mess. We're trying to get it all going again. But yeah, and so what's cool is my voiceover agent was like, yeah, man, as long as you can get out to LA for the things that you need to, it's fine. So
hell yeah,
they're great, and what part of the East Coast are you guys on?
I'm on Florida.
Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Florida, and Britt's actually in Texas.
Oh, wow. And how do you guys know each other?
Okay, so here's the story. I started this channel in 2020 because I was like, it's COVID. I didn't have anything else to do. I was in college.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. So it was more like, so earlier in the channel, I was always pro Superman, Wonder Woman. I get an email one day that said, hey, there's a Discord group for Superman and Wonder Woman. You should join in, maybe do an episode on it. I did it. I had read her fan stories on Superman and Wonder Woman. So I go, I know you from somewhere. And then we connected. It took us a year. And then we were like, you want to do a podcast? And she's like, all right. And then 5 years later, and then like a year later,
that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Britt, that's great. That's awesome. Are you in what part of Texas are you in?
Dallas.
Dallas. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's cool. And then are you do you guys get out to cons or anything like that? Or
I do a lot to like Florida SuperCon around there, and pretty soon I hope to be going there because I wrote a comic book that's coming out in October. So I'm gonna be.
Congratulations! That's
Thank you.
huge.
Thank
That's
you.
huge. What's the name of it?
It's called Athena, the Goddess of Thunder. In fact, here I'll just drop a thing.
Cool. Yeah. Promote.
Yeah, yeah. I wrote it, and then a friend of mine drew it. So we have that going on. It's based heavily a lot about my favorite parts of DC and Wonder Woman. So
that's great, man.
So hang on, let me. I'll just post the link in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and link that. And then Jason, if you want, I don't want to put pressure on you, but I can also send the link to you.
Yeah, please.
I'll even send you a free digital copy if you want.
No, I would love to take a look at it, and if I can pass it on to anyone I know, I will. So
thank you.
Cool.
But yeah, it's like, because at this point, I think like every comic book fan has an idea of like a comic book that they would like to do. So it's like at a certain point, it's like just rip the Band-Aid off and just do it.
You're right. You're right.
Britt and I have an entire universe playing out, and it's to the point where like. Well, for Britt and I have talked about if we ran DC, the changes we would make. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
People would, the executives would hate us. The fans would love us.
Where's Mr. Mixie Pitlick when we need him, right?
I don't, trust me. Hey, Barry, can you go back in time and make it so I run DC now, please? Thank you. That would be super great. Thanks.
And Britt, are you, what are you doing these days? What do you do? Are you like
Well, I'm a graphic designer. So I do like different projects, and other than that, I'm running the Instagram page, which is, I didn't know, being a content creator, it does take a lot of work. So you have to,
yes, it does.
You have to post, and especially, with the many followers that we have, you have to keep it interesting. And then if it's not that, it's doing the podcast with Jared, or it's working on the million of stories that Jared and I are trying to do, especially in the content of rewriting, some stories that we have problems with, especially for Wonder Woman. And like Jared said, that is basically how we met. I didn't think that
So we have this one. I'm gonna pitch you a concept. I'm gonna tell you a concept. Superman and Wonder Woman, but they're gladiators.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's
there you go. I watch a lot of Spartacus Gladiator, and I was like, oh my God, I can do that.
And they have to usurp Lex, the Emperor.
They have to usurp Zod, because in the story, Krypton has taken over Earth and made all the superheroes their gladiators.
Oh, interesting.
Krypton's
taken over?
Yeah.
That sounds like an apocalypse thing, man. Like, I don't know.
It could, but it's like everyone uses dark side. So I'm like, at a certain point, I gotta go. I need some originality here. Like, everyone uses Euxis.
It's fair.
But yeah, you're welcome to
come on
the show anytime. We'd love to have you on anytime.
That's great, man. No, I'm trying to get on as many shows as I can right now, since Superman's been kind of in the zeitgeist a little bit more.
Let me know. We'll have you on anytime, bro.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. You guys are really cool. And Britt, I'd love to see some of your work too. If is it just on your Instagram or?
I think I do have a portfolio. I mostly do edits of, of pictures or brochures for events, videos.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey man, that's a good living.
It is. Like I said, it's a lot of hard work. Didn't know, we're trying to create the concepts of, but yeah, you don't want to kneecap, in a sense, creativity.
Yes.
That's my biggest thing, is just expressing, the joy of being creative.
Well, if you guys ever need any help with sparking some ideas or copywriting, let me know, because I love doing that kind of stuff. So it's really cool.
I may take you up on that.
I did. One of my alternate universe lives, when we moved to Utah for about 5 years after, right after COVID, like during COVID, because we had to leave LA. It was just nothing going on. It was really hard. And I was still about 6 hours from LA, so I get back and do what I needed to do. But in the meantime, I started working with a radio group out there, and I was selling airtime, but I was also writing a ton of commercials and voicing many of them. But but I learned how to really become a really good copywriter at all. So it was really fun. I actually really would love to do more of that. So
really, that's very interesting.
Yeah, right. It's weird. It's a weird world, man. And I still think that they're using my voice on their pop station as imaging. So I don't know. I'm gonna listen to it forever. But yeah.
All right, but anyway, we'll let you go because it's almost 3 hours now.
I know. Hey, we're going 3 hours. Yeah.
We'll let you go. Again, Jason, it was a pleasure having you on. You're welcome anytime, brother. We're welcome anytime.
Well, and this has been great. Good talk and really good stuff. I think you guys really asked a lot of great questions. I hope the fans are. Hope you didn't offend too many people, but
No, trust me, you didn't offend any more people than I have. We're good. We're good.
And Cameron and Parker and Enzo and all the people in the chat. Thank you guys for your questions too. It was nice to have you guys along. I didn't realize this would be live. I thought it was going to be just a recorded thing. So this is cool, man.
Yeah, every other week we do a live episode, so it just plus I do all my interviews live, so people can like interact with the guests and stuff.
No, I think that's great. I actually really like that too. So
yeah,
it's really.
But anyway, stick around real quick afterwards because I have someone to ask you. So anyway,
okay, no worries, I'll stick around.
Stay here, work everyone. Remember, Lois Lane's Lois Lame. I'll see you guys later. Bye.